So the first one is Con Knippel's draft position. I have the over/under set at 5.5. What are you guys thinking? If you had to go one way or the other, over being that he'll be further down the draft board when selected, or under meaning he will be drafted before 5.5. What are you thinking?
I'll go
Man, that's
first.
tough.
I'll go
Yeah,
Okay,
go
first.
ahead.
Josh.
It better be over because if the Jazz take him, I'm gonna be a sad man tonight. And he's the ninth player on my big board, so I'm just gonna stick to it and say over and believe the Jazz aren't gonna do something crazy. So
Well, that's why I picked this 5.5. It's right at that sweet spot. Some real implications potentially for the Jazz. Looks like Adam Silver's getting up to welcome everybody. Wow, more on time for the NBA draft than they are every regular season and postseason game. Good grief. Pretty impressive. What do you think, McCade? Would you go over
I think
or
it's
under
under,
here?
but I don't think it's the Jazz. So I'd even go as far as saying under 4.5. I think he's going
okay.
fourth pretty comfortably. What team? I'm not sure.
I think he's going top
but-
four pretty comfortably, huh?
But I think he's going four pretty comfortably.
Okay. I think I'm going under. I think if Philly holds on to this pick, they're going VJ, and Charlotte may not be able to trade fast enough and just goes Con. It's kind of how I'm thinking about it. So I'm gonna hit the under with McCade. What are you thinking, Josh?
I have no idea. I'll just go over, but I can totally see him going 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think he's been talked about in that range for
Yeah.
a month now, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him go anywhere. I think I'd be pretty surprised to see him go 3. I don't even know if Charlotte would take him, honestly, so I think it probably starts at us, and I think we might go in a different direction, so I'll say that he goes over.
well, and correct me if I'm wrong, resident bookie over here, McCade. The betting odds are pretty heavily favored that Khan's going to go 4. Is that accurate right now?
Yeah, I saw a number a couple minutes ago that said he was minus 1,200, which is 93% to go in the top 5. And specifically, I'm seeing that he's at minus 550, so about 85% to go at number 4 right now.
Yeah.
Great news. That's music to my ears. So that would be fantastic for the Jazz if he went ahead of them. So that's
Yeah, it
acceptable.
just gives Utah more options, right? And hopefully using those options to their benefit.
Yeah, well, and somebody's got to save the Jazz from themselves, right? So, I know there's certainly what's the Jazz Knipple fan club name out there, the Nipple Bros or whatever they're calling themselves.
The conch nipples or something.
Yeah, Chad Lowe and those guys they're leading the charge on that, and somebody's got to come in and put an end to the madness and save us from ourselves. So, if Charlotte wants to do that, they can be my guest. That would be great.
Well, hopefully it's Austin Ainge. Hopefully he hasn't, he still has some of that angel dust from Boston on his shoulder and, makes a stellar move.
Okay, so can I ask a question related to that? I was thinking about this just before I hopped on the show. So there's been all this rumor talk about the Jazz potentially moving number 5 for a huge deal for Jaylen Brown, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, inevitably, the conversation is going to be the Boston connection with Ainge and Co., both of them, right? Well, something I was thinking about, so there was another report that came out that Boston's been looking to get into the lottery, right? So you kind of think about that. You think about the rumors with Jaylen Brown. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, Austin Ainge knows the big board for Boston. Like, at least, maybe not exactly because he's been gone for a little bit, but like generally
He hasn't seen the
speaking-
workouts, but
Yeah, but like generally speaking, the NBA teams pretty much have their board set by the time he left and came over. So that was like me kind of putting 2 to 2 together. I was like, oh, does he know who exactly they're wanting? Like, are they the Jeremiah Fears team, and he's trying to leak all this information and all this talk about us taking Jeremiah Fears because he's like, I know that's who Boston's gonna want, and I'm trying to get Jaylen Brown. Like, are we in on the conspiracy theory here? Are we trying to make some moves for Jaylen? What do you guys think?
what's your read on that, Josh?
That's a stretch for me. I mean, I think that's a good thought process, but I think that's too far out there for me.
Josh is like Mark's at the whiteboard with the crazy connections again. He doesn't. This is too crazy.
I just don't think we're gonna do that deal. I honestly, again, granted, I don't know what the heck we're gonna do. I don't know what direction. We still don't have a direction. It feels like 3 years later, nobody has any idea what we're doing. Are we all of a sudden going big game hunting again, which didn't work out? Or what I want them to do is the same thing I've wanted them to do for the last 3 years is trade up, get Dylan Harper, get VJ Edgecombe, get Ace, get somebody that we can get talent, tank another year, try and get a top 3 pick next year. And all this other stuff is noise to me, distractions, deviating from the process.
So
The
I'll
Jaylen
agree
Brown
with
stuff.
Josh. That I think he's spot on. The Jaylen Brown trade is not dependent on who's available at 5. That's not a decision you make within a 5-minute window and say, oh, player X is available. We're going to trade Jaylen Brown to the Jazz because player X is available at 5. So I think it's kind of far-fetched. That the value there is the 5th pick, not a player available at 5. We would have already heard if that was going to happen. I think Austin Ainge is outside of Boston, and he's here in Utah now, and that's just kind of what it is.
Yeah. Well, and I have to confess to something. I did kind of set you guys up for that, and I have some intel on this if you want to know. So from a very reliable.
Oh, heck
source
yeah,
that
we
will-
want to know the intel, Mark.
Yeah.
kidding
From
me,
a very
man?
reliable source that will remain unnamed. I sent them a message when all this talk today came out about Jaylen Brown, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I kind of asked it in the way of like, "Hey, look, like, there's no way Jaylen Brown's camp is gonna let this happen, right? Like, he doesn't want to come play in Utah." And the response that I got was, "Yes, that's what stopped it. So apparently the deal's off, but we seriously tried to make it happen." And my source said Jalen's people found out and were like, F no. And I won't say the full word, but they definitively came in and said, yeah, there's a 0% chance that we want our client going to Utah. And it sounds like, at least from what I was told, that killed the whole deal. So I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, crazier things have happened. Maybe Dwayne Wade finally remembered that he's an owner of this team and called up Jalen and convinced him that Utah's not a bad place to go. But I would be surprised, knowing what I was told, I'd be surprised if that happened. But it was a nice thought for a minute.
Well, speaking of which, just a pulse check on the draft. We've got the pick is in supposedly for Dallas. We all know who that pick is going to be. Just a matter of time before Adam Silver comes trotting out to announce it. But kind of sticking on that wing theme, one of the most intriguing wings, kind of in the mid lottery, is Carter Bryant. This one is a guy a lot of people like, and he's been flying up draft boards throughout the process and into later in the season as well. I have his over/under draft position at 9.5. Let's start with Josh. Josh is a Carter Bryant believer. Where are you thinking, man? Over/under on a 9.5 draft position.
That's a great line too. I'd probably go over. Shout out to our guy AJ. He loves Carter Bryant. He's been on Carter Bryant from the beginning. I think I've come around a little bit more to the idea of Carter Bryant. I've never really been a huge Carter Bryant fan personally, but I think if we can land somebody that I like at 5 and the Jazz would be looking to move up to target somebody, I think he would be fantastic for the Jazz. Just with his skill set, we need 3-and-D guys. So I like him for the Jazz. I think he'd be a good fit. I'm definitely not at the top of his fan club, though.
Yeah, if the Jazz could get in the late lottery, if he slid 1 or 2 spots, that would be a pretty dang good get. So yeah, the Cooper Flag pick is officially in. No surprise there. All industry mocks from ESPN to The Athletic, Sam Vecini, to the No Ceilings crew, Hoop Intellect, everybody has him at 1. Pretty predictable there. Any thoughts on Cooper? Or should we get thoughts on the everyone else's thoughts on the over/under for Carter Bryant?
All I'll say is Cooper's amazing. He's going to be Scottie Pippen, and he should have been a Jazz man. I'll leave it at that.
I'll take the over there. Match Josh's pick for Carter Bryant. And my thoughts on Cooper, I think I'm the only one of us 4 who's seen him play in person. Is that correct? So when I went and saw him play in person, he was a senior in high school. And, that Montverde team had 4 players that are going to go here in the first round tonight, as well as Robert Wright, who just signed with BYU in the last few months. All fantastic players. And I'm watching everyone just play great basketball. And I looked down the stat sheet after. I was like, Cooper Flag didn't look super great tonight. He was kind of whatever. And the stat sheet said he had, I think it was 23, 14, 7, 5, and 2. And I was like, that's a very quiet stat line, but a very, very loud numbers that this guy's going to be just fine. He is that good in person, and he's so sneaky about it. Such a high floor. Well-deserving number 1 pick.
If things go well, I could see some Sean Marion, early Sean Marion, Phoenix Suns sort of vibes there. I think would be pretty cool.
Adam, can you flip me to over on that Carter Bryant pick? Sorry.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go the under. I think Toronto is kind of sending those Malawach signals, hoping for Brooklyn to take Malawach at 8 so that they snap Carter Bryant at 9. That's kind of where I'm thinking.
The Jazz are going to take Malawach at 5. So we got to calm down here. What are we talking about, 8 and 9?
I'm getting in Toronto's head here, and I don't think that they believe Utah is taking Malawach at 5, but Malawach is an interesting one. Where would you go on Carter Bryant, Mark?
Remind me, what was the line again?
9.5.
I am going to go, I think, over. So that's a tough one. I actually think Carter Bryant, I like him a lot, but I actually think he's one of the most overrated players in this draft. He just really hasn't done anything. Like, certainly at a sufficient enough volume. He's got the tools. Like, he's a freak athlete. The build is amazing. I understand that the shooting was efficient. He's got a nice stroke, and he just is dripping with potential. But man, it's just really hard to find guys that did things at that low of volume and really didn't contribute in any kind of significant way at that level that really turn out to be something amazing, right? Like, I don't doubt he could maybe be like a role player or something like that, but I don't know. I think he's kind of overrated. So I personally think that the NBA teams are going to be a little bit more gun shy on him because of that than other people are projecting. I think he's gotten steamed up a little bit too much in his draft stock. So I'm going to say he's going to slip outside the top 10. Maybe not by a lot, but I don't know. I just think he's kind of overrated, although I do like him quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. What about let's pivot to Yegor Demon. San Antonio's on the clock for Dylan Harper, so we're waiting that one. Supposedly the pick is in, but while we're waiting on that one, let's go Yegor Demon. I have the over-under at 14.5. So if you are on the under, you think he's going lottery. If you're on the over, he's going to slip out of the lottery. He's got one of the highest variance among industry mocks of these players who are around the lottery. This one is an interesting one. I'm personally hitting the over on here. I'll go first. I think he slips out of the lottery. I think the workouts kind of get you hyped and stuff, but then as more and more time kind of gaps between those workouts, I think some of the other guys toward the end of the lottery will be a little more attractive, and in the end, I think he slips a few spots.
I'll match your over, Adam, and my hot take here has nothing to do with the player, but the pick number. I think that picks 15 through 30 should be tomorrow night, not through tonight. Let's keep the lottery special and move outside the lottery to day 2.
Man, McCade is coming in with some hot takes. Like,
yeah,
what,
okay,
15 minutes in? Wow.
Hold on, we gotta hit the pause button. What is that take? You're saying, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that the lottery should happen tonight, and then you cut off the draft tonight at the end of the lottery, and you wait for the rest of the first round tomorrow?
Yep, let's enjoy the lottery. That's where all the value is. A first pick isn't the same as the 30th pick in the NBA like it is in the NFL and NHL and elsewhere. Let's keep the lottery super special. Keep the top talent on night 1.
That's wild. So follow up to that then, are you proposing that 15 through 30 is combined with the second round, day 2, or you go 3 days?
No, I would just go 2 days. You can do 15 through 60 tomorrow.
Yo, producer, where's the forced mute button? Can you please mute McCade and not have him ever talk about this topic ever again? That is a horrendous take. Classic horrendous take by McCade. Worst idea I've heard in a long time. Please do not do that.
just wait 15 minutes till the next take, okay? I think he's got a queue of them lined up here. All right, so Adam Silver just announces Dylan Harper going to San Antonio, just as is predicted. Now is where the draft kind of gets fun and interesting. Again, all industry mocks had Dylan at 2 to the Spurs, so no surprise there. Any comments on Dylan Harper? Really wish it had been a type of thing Jazz could have had some inroads to moving up to 2, but I think San Antonio really only had eyes for Giannis on moving Harper, and maybe not even then.
I mean,
Yeah.
Dylan Harper was my draft crush, so I was devastated when the lottery results came out. We didn't get Coop or Dylan because I felt like kind of the draft dropped significantly after that. But the rich just keep getting richer in San Antonio, and us poverty franchises stay in poverty.
Yeah, he's a beast, just like Cooper Flag. Should have been a Jazz man. Pour one out. I will say though, and McCade, maybe you can correct me, but I think statistically speaking, one of the 2 guys that go 1 and 2, one of those guys is going to bust, and at least historically speaking, that's about the rate. And I love Dylan Harper, but I actually do think he's a little bit overrated, if I can use that word again. Like he's great. Like, don't get me wrong, he's my clear number 2 prospect, but like he's not perfect. He is really not that good of a shooter. He has the size, but he's not some crazy explosive athlete. Like when I first started watching him, I kept comparing him to Donovan Mitchell because his play style is really similar. But the big difference is, one, he's bigger than Donovan, but he's also a way worse athlete than Donovan, right? And so I do think if you're thinking if there's a chance that he doesn't pan out, it's probably because, one, he never figures out how to shoot consistently, and 2, he's just not explosive enough to figure it out at the NBA level. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be a beast, but he's not. He's not like Cooper Flag, like Cooper Flag is like pretty much foolproof. Like he's like literally good at everything, but Dylan is not that way, right?
Yeah, like if we think about Cooper, I mean, kind of the worst case scenario. Personally, I think he's still a top 75 player and an Aaron Gordon type. Worst case scenario, he's kind of like an Aaron Gordon type who's a really great player on a championship team. Like that's just awesome. That's kind of like your reasonable floor.
And the fit with San Antonio is weird. Like all the Spurs fans kept talking like, "Oh, it's not a big deal," and it's not a big deal, and maybe it's not, but like him and Fox and Castle is a really weird fit. And long term, I think you're going to have to figure that out. And it'll be interesting to see how that goes, especially in his rookie season.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get back to Yegor Demon. I'm really curious to see, Mark, Josh, where you guys go on here. We do have a Yegor Demon hater among us, and it's not Mark and it's not McCade. What are you thinking, Josh? I think I know where you're going here, but just curious.
Those are really strong words. I don't hate Yegor, especially going to a local university. I just really struggle with. I feel like the hype was insane, and it got to the point where it felt like people just stopped watching. They had no idea like how the kid even plays or what he looks like on the court, and he has a BYU jersey, and people said he was going to be a lottery pick, so I'm just going to regurgitate that nonsense. But I don't even know, can he shoot? Can he dribble? Can he defend? Like, does he even show up for games? I think that was kind of what happened with Yegor. But being tall and be able to pass is cool, but if that was the case, anybody could play in the NBA. I mean, there's plenty of people that are over 6'6", 6'9", that can pass a basketball, but you got to be able to dribble the basketball. You got to be able to put the rock in the hole, and he struggles with a lot of things. Like, I think that the idea, again, of Yegor could be scary. I mean, a 6'9" point guard that can create. I mean, if you're thinking Magic Johnson there a little bit, sure, I think could see how that gets people excited. But I think it was David Locke that did some of his analytical numbers, and he was kind of in that red flag zone in terms of all the different metrics, in terms of being a spot up, catch and shoot, off the dribble shooter. It looked like a nightmare. He was kind of in the bottom percentiles there. And so I don't really buy the shot coming along. And if he can't defend and he can't get to the hole, he can't break the paint, like he's going to be out of the league. It's going to take the perfect fit for him. But anyway, that's my overwinded repeated answer that people have heard me kind of say about Jaeger for the last 5 months.
Yeah, I set you up for aggregation by saying you were a hater, so good clarification. But
Well, hey,
what do you think,
all I
Mike?
heard was confirmation that Josh is a hater. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm gonna go over, but I don't know if it'll be by much. I actually think Oklahoma City. I mean, he's in the mold of the kind of guys that they like. Josh Giddey, Topic from last year, right? Like maybe they've had enough of that prototype, but I actually think there's a chance that they might be interested in him. And what are they, pick 15? So I think somewhere in that 15 to 16, 17 range would make a lot of sense. But I like him. I actually early in the season I thought he was going to be like the number 2 or number 3 player in this draft. He started off the year really good, and the natural talent is insane. And then he just really faltered throughout the rest of the season, especially when the competition level stepped up. So, but I think again, like almost kind of like Carter Bryant, like the tools are just so insane, right? Like if he hits, and especially with the recency bias of the finals, where you had jumbo guards with SGA and Halliburton, and I'm not saying he's that kind of player, but they are kind of a bigger, longer guard. It wouldn't surprise me if these teams are looking at him and going, hey, we kind of know if Josh Giddey is kind of roughly his floor. Josh Giddey's a solid player that it has some value. And then the upside is we get kind of a jumbo guard playmaker that we just saw two guys lead their teams to the finals in that mold. I don't know. I think maybe some of that recency bias could get a team to buy in a little bit more than maybe some other people would, especially with some of his advanced analytics not being super great. But I like him, but I will take the over on that.
All right, cool. Well, Philly has their pick in. Adam Silver stepping up to the podium now. Let's see where they go.
Ooh.
Josh has resigned. VJ Edgecombe off the board.
VJ would have been a great fit for us. I feel like in our backcourt we need somebody like him really badly, but it looks like things are setting up very nicely for Ace to come to us if the odds are really saying that Charlotte is going to take Con.
I do think Con to Charlotte right now is pretty dang likely.
Pretty locked in.
Yeah.
I will throw out real quick that Shams is not tweeting out the picks.
He's
So
not.
who really knows
Good
what's
heavens,
going on?
too.
Well, it's
I will
because
say-
the nuclear war between him and Woj is over. Like he,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no competition. So now he can actually adjust to what the league wants him to do and play along, right? But
Yeah.
but before it was always this competition between the two of who could get the news out first. So, I actually kind of am bummed about that. I get a little impatient. I just kind of want to know, but.
Adam, you're gonna have to change your tab up there to just say news. There's no more breaking news these days.
Yeah, it's
Well,
just
hopefully we
news.
get some trades so that we can,
That's a
kinda
good
talk
point.
about
If
those.
we get the Shams
Hopefully-
notification, it means something is happening.
Hopefully hopefully soon we hear that this pick with VJ is coming to Utah with Paul George. That's what I'm hoping for. So
I wouldn't mind that. Well, depending on the specifics there, but so how the board has fallen, what is your preference? Who do you guys want to see? Who do the Jazz need to take?
I'm still all in on Ace. I'm not perturbed by the stuff with his camp and stuff. I think he's a good kid. I think he'll make the most of Utah. What he really wants is a trajectory and a pathway to becoming a star player, and I think he'd have that here in Utah. And I think he'd have coach and GM backing. And so I think most of the stuff about getting to the East Coast teams is largely a representation, maybe even family mentor sort of play.
yeah, I'm all in on Ace. If I was Philly, I actually probably would have taken him here at 3. Although I do love VJ a ton, and on my board I technically have VJ above Ace, but Ace's upside is just insane. And I mean, like I think I've said this on Twitter before. If the Jazz draft Ace Bailey, he's instantly one of the most talented players that the franchise has ever drafted, period. Let alone at the wing, which we have not drafted very many talented wings in our history, right? So I think there's a lot to be said for taking a swing on a guy like that, like even with all the other stuff off the court and all those concerns. Like I don't know, like he's the kind of talent that you tank for and that you hope to get a chance to draft, and to have him fall in your lap, like I just think you got to do it, and just like, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then that's fine, like that happens. But I think he's well worth the risk, so I'm all in on the Ace Bailey train.
So we talked about Bailey, but the viewers are noticing as we pull up Mark's top remaining here that Malawatch is more highly rated on your board than Bailey. You got Malawatch at 3, Bailey at 6. So is it just fit that you're saying Bailey, or high end outcome that you're kind of shooting for there? And at the top of the stream, we talked about Malawatch in semi-joking form. Talk to us a little bit about saying Bailey to Utah and not technically Malawatch if he was there.
Yeah, so I think what's important to understand about my board is this is my grading board. This is not necessarily how I would draft, right? And so I know that, like, it's like, well, how does that make sense? Like, you should just follow your grades in your board, right? But like part of it is like with Malawatch, he comes out so well because he has like elite scores in certain areas, which really steam up his number, right? And especially as a center with like his finishing ability, his ability to protect the rim, and then a few of the other things he can do, it's not hard for my model to really fall in love with him and kind of push him up, right?
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean like I actually think my model's not perfect and my grading system's not perfect. So I take that into account, and I still really like him, and I still think he would be a really good pick at 5. Like I actually wouldn't hate that because I do believe he's going to be really good. And I think he's got a pretty high floor and a high ceiling, especially at the center position. But for me, like Ace Bailey, like again, some of his shooting inefficiencies, some of his decision making, that knocks him down in my scoring. But I believe in the upside. So if I went into my model and adjusted for projected future improvement, then Ace Bailey's probably my number 2 or number 3 player, right? And that's not necessarily what my grade accounts for, is like future improvement. And so that's where I have a difference in who I would draft in what order versus what my current grades are on the player today as it stands, right? So they're often pretty close, but in this case, yeah, for sure, I would be flipping Bailey and Malawatch on my board pretty easily.
Sounds like a good way to never be wrong.
That's right. That's right.
Just to interject really quick.
Game within the game.
Brett Siegel just tweeted out, trade talks surrounding the 4th pick are continuing for the Hornets. Multiple teams have expressed the desire to move up. Charlotte has options. So what are the odds that we're going to get jumped right now by Washington or New Orleans to take Ace at 4?
I think it's pretty likely. I think it's pretty high, actually. Yeah. But
this is what I've kind of been thinking. Yeah, that hey, I'm not the type to pass on Ace if he's there just because his representation wants him to get to Washington or New Orleans or Brooklyn. If they want him, pony up and freaking trade up for him. And honestly, if the Jazz want to, you're not trading up to get him because you're fearful that like Charlotte might take him, because I don't have much fear that Charlotte's going to take him. You trade up to beat Washington, New Orleans, and Brooklyn to it. But if you rest on your laurels, then yeah, you can get sniped right at the last minute. So that would be disappointing.
So are you legitimately wanting Malawatch then, Mark, if they leapfrog us and they take Ace, or are you leaning more towards Trey there?
So if somebody jumps and takes Ace right here, I personally would trade back. At least I would try to. Because I think Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Fears, Con Knuppel, and Malawatch, I at that point, any of those guys, I would be like, okay, like I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm game and I'm not mad. But I would trade back because you can get added value and still get one of those guys at like pick 8 or 7 or whatever, right? So that would be my preference. And pretty much anybody but Knuppel. Like, I actually would be fine with Con at like 7 or 8. I just am not fine with Con at 5. Right?
Oh, so the pick's in.
I'm like actually way nervous about this.
And the problem is there's no team to trade up, right? You got to find the other
Yeah.
half of that coin.
And by the way, I will just say, hashtag sources. I heard on Ace Bailey, I heard that the Jazz front office was extremely divided on him. So there was a faction of people within the Jazz front office that really love Ace Bailey, and then there's a faction of people that like really hate him, and it's like
Did
very
the Love Ace
polarizing.
Bailey have the last name Ainge by chance?
There might have been a guy, Danny that loved him, but I don't know.
Yeah. All right, here comes Adam Silver for Charlotte.
But that's just the epitome, I think, of how consensus feels about Ace, right? It sounds like our organization is no different than everybody else because Ace is such a polarizing prospect.
Okay, but here's what's
Well,
interesting.
There goes Con.
Yeah, so
for
Con,
Charlotte.
thank the heavens. Thank the heavens. Thank you for saving us from ourselves.
That is huge news, guys.
Oh, I'm like
I
so
think
relieved.
I'm gonna be pretty angry if we don't take Ace at this point. I know that Tony has gotten Jazz Nation to buy into Trey, and I know there's a lot of Trey believers, but it's got to be Ace for me right here.
Okay, yeah. So let me tell you a little bit more about what I've heard. So when I heard that Ace Bailey news, that was early in the process. That was before Austin joined the front office. So I don't know, and I haven't heard since. I don't know how Austin may have impacted their opinion on Ace. Okay. But here's the other thing. Trey Johnson, that was the name that I was told early. And I haven't got an update on that, but Trey's been kind of getting projected to drop, like, even as far as number 8, right? And so, like, I don't know. Like, Trey was the guy early from what I heard. There was a lot of conflicting reports on Ace, but all of that was before Austin. And now the talk is Austin Ainge is the guy that's in love with Jeremiah Fears. So that's where it's like, I really don't know what's going to go on here. I'm really curious to see what they end up doing.
Well, this is what I was about to say. You want the Jazz to have options, but that's part of the problem when you have so many options, right? A lot of risk, a lot of exposure to picking the wrong guy. So the board has fallen pretty ideally for the Jazz to make the best decision for themselves, but if they misstep on that decision, right, we'll look back at the draft board in 3 years and see 2 to 3 prospects selected in the ensuing 5 picks, and you're just like, oh geez.
We were hoping on draft night to stay in the top 3 so we could get Flag, Harper, or Bailey. If on lottery night we would have ended up at pick 3, we would have gone nuts on social media saying, sweet, we're going to get Bailey.
Amen.
Yep.
Preach.
Yep.
Sometimes lottery luck doesn't go your way. When the luck goes your way on draft night, you have to take advantage.
So Andy Larson just tweeted out that he's feeling like the Jazz have an ace up their sleeve. Does Andy know something, or is he just guessing?
I think the old Woj.
I think the pun is too perfect for this stage, so I'd say it's probably 40% the pun. How can you not?
They've got to take him.
If we take Jeremiah Fears, 90% of Jazz Twitter is going to crash out tonight.
I will root for the kid like crazy, but I'll have to drop a line in my prayer every single night that he works out.
No,
the bust potential is huge, and it's scary.
So the funny thing about Jeremiah Fears is I feel like I kind of jumped on him really early. I was like, why is nobody talking about this kid? Like, he looks amazing. Like, he doesn't look like a freshman. He looks like very mature upperclassman at Oklahoma in the SEC, and he's pretty good at running his team. Like, there's really something special here. But then I feel like everybody kind of came in late on Jeremiah Fears, and then everybody almost like overcorrected, like got too crazy on him, and I had to pull back a little bit. And so now I do kind of feel conflicted. Like, I like Fears, but I don't know if I like him for our team is the problem.
I mean, I like him for our team if we're getting him because he's slipping into the late teens and stuff like that. I would love it. Even if we traded down to the mid-lottery, 8-9, Brooklyn, Toronto there, and, we collected other assets or things, set up, something else. You take the swing here at 5. This is the best opportunity we've had in Um, I mean, a good decade. You know,
Oh yeah,
so
like
to
again,
swing
again.
on that and to go for the prospect that from a from an attribute standpoint has the most uphill climb, but from a tools standpoint, you see the vision. You just got to be sure. What were you saying, Mark?
No, I just was gonna reiterate again. Like, if you take Ace Bailey, he immediately becomes one of the most talented, like most decorated prospects we've ever taken in franchise history at any stage of the draft, at any draft ever.
It's him or
Right? Like,
Darren, right?
yeah,
Maybe Daryl Griffith, maybe.
like
Yeah,
he's
Or
in that
Dominique
group.
Wilkins if I want to open up wounds.
Oh well, yeah, yeah. Thanks.
don't make us cry.
Yeah, thanks for that. But
But it's him or
like,
Darren, right?
yeah, and like I think you could argue that Ace is you could put Ace above Darren, right? Given his pedigree, like this is the guy they were saying was going to challenge Cooper Flagg to the #1 pick before the season started, right? So, like
Well, and
we're
with
talking about that
Darren,
kind of level talent.
well, with Darren, at the era we were in, right, these big point guards, right, that was what you were coveting. That was an archetype that made all the other pieces fit together. And I would say that in today's NBA, it's these wings that can create any shot they want,
Yeah.
and that's
By the
ace to a
way,
T.
they just showed Ace Bailey on the
Yes, they did.
broadcast. Given the look he had on his face, which did not look happy, that's telling me he's the pick.
I think so. I think he is.
Why?
I
We
think he
have the
is.
most basketball courts per capita of any state in the nation. If he truly just loves basketball and wants to come be a star where basketball matters, it's Utah and Indiana are the top two basketball purist states.
By the way, though, I did hear that the Jazz, and Tony said this, that the Jazz would take Trey over Ace. So again, I don't know, like that I'm not as confident on, but Tony's talked about that. That's been out there, so there is a possibility that. I mean, either of Trey or Fears. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. The pick's in. Here they come.
Here
All right,
we
you guys are
go.
about 6 seconds ahead of me, so you guys got to tell me.
I can't believe that the Jazz actually did something right for once in my lifetime.
Let's go.
They didn't
Let's
get in their
go.
own way. Ace Bailey,
go.
people.
No
Yes.
way.
We're back.
We're back.
So let me be clear. He could be a massive, massive bust
True.
and be out of the
It's
league in
possible.
3 years, and this is still the right pick. This is the type
Oh,
of talent you need to get into the organization. Even if he's a bust, this is the talent you need to take a shot on.
This is the reverse Kyle Pitts pick, right? Like it made no sense for the Falcons to take Kyle Pitts.
Tortured
Horrible
Atlanta fan
process.
here.
Horrible process. This is the opposite. This is good process pick, and exactly what McCade is saying. Even if it doesn't work out, then it's still the right pick because this is the kind of guy, this is the kind of talent at this position. That's who you draft. That's what you need.
So looking here at the industry boards right here.
Man,
so
I'm
we
so
had
freaking happy.
Fox, we had Bleacher Report, The Ringer,
Gosh.
CBS, Hoop Intellect, No Ceilings, and Yahoo all had Ace going before the Jazz picked. And he slipped to us. We would have been ecstatic to get him at 3 on lottery night. Preseason, we would have thought it'd be he'd be great at number 2. So this is just fantastic. I'd love if we could share some of the player comps, realistic outcomes we kind of see for Ace. Anybody got those off the?
Yeah,
their
so
boards?
I can talk. Yeah, I'll talk. I have a player comp for him, and it's kind of a middle ground player comp. So this is not
Yeah.
a ceiling comp. But my comp for him was Andrew Wiggins. Similar size, similar
Yeah.
kind of elite athlete, similar ability to score the ball in bunches, but was a good, not great shooter. Right, has some defensive upside just with his tools and athleticism, but needed to work on kind of the consistency of his effort. So to me, like. I actually think that's like kind of almost a middle ground floor option. But if you remember, like Andrew Wiggins was like, they thought Wiggins was going to be the next Michael Jordan coming out, right? Like that was the level of talent. And to me, that's really similar to Ace, where he has that level of talent and upside, and he could be way more than Andrew Wiggins has been in the NBA. Although Andrew Wiggins, by the way, has had a super underrated career and has actually low-key been amazing, even though people think he's been a disappointment, right?
I was gonna say Wiggins busted and is still walking his way to the Hall of Fame. Maybe
Yeah,
not
and won a
quite running there, but
championship
he's
and was
walking
actually
there.
like really important on that team,
He's
right?
gonna
And
score
that's
20,000 career points.
yeah. So that's my comp for him right now.
Where I kind of went with Ace is if things go well for him, I think he's an all-star caliber player, and I would put him at like a defense capable Brandon Ingram, where he probably at the 75th percentile. You want him, taking these difficult shots, and you want him operating with the ball. You want him to orchestrate a little bit more, right? You're probably wanting a little more passing, just like you want a little more passing out of Brandon Ingram, but you're getting the defense, a higher level of defense that Brandon Ingram isn't really giving you. And I think that would just be a tremendous, tremendous outcome. I'm not the type who's going to throw out a Hall of Famer, like, Hall of Fame caliber player, or, a perennial all NBA player. People have said Tracy McGrady and these kind of guys. I'm not about to throw that out unless I'm sure that their 75th percentile outcome could be that type of thing. And so I feel pretty comfortable that a good, if things go well, outcome is he's a defensive capable Brandon Ingram.
So I think it's super interesting looking at Ace Bailey and comparing him to our last two top 10 picks, right? I think Taylor Hendricks and Cody Williams both came in and were like, I'm going to try and figure out the NBA. And Ace Bailey's going to have a totally different mindset, right? Those guys came off the bench. They spent time in the G League. Ace Bailey's going to come in. Are we predicting he starts opening night? I'll throw that out there.
Yeah, of
He
course.
has to, right?
Yo,
Yeah.
our wings are
Right?
like the worst in the league right now.
And he's gonna come in
absolutely
and-
starting.
Hey,
He's
you
gonna
guys have to
go
remember
for
who
it.
our head coach is.
I know. He's going to come in. He should start opening night, and he's going to go for it, right? And he might shoot 4 for 17 on opening night, but he's going to take 17 shots and learn and grow. We're going to learn very quickly, within 2 years probably for sure, if Ace Bailey's the guy or not. And that's exciting because we're 2
That
years
is
into
exciting.
Taylor Hendricks, and we have no idea if he's even a starter. We're not going to bring up Cody Williams on this chat too much. But we're going to be able to watch Ace Bailey this season, and that's going to be so much fun, regardless on where on that spectrum he ends up from Hall of Famer to bust.
I agree with that. And where this is also such a massive win is like, can you imagine Ace, obviously, to your point, McCade, I don't think is going to help us win a lot of games this year, but can you imagine if we go back-to-back years and we got Ace Bailey and you match him with Cam Boozer, AJ Devonsa, or Darren Peterson, then we won the tanking strategy.
I got the
like
Boozer
we are
drip
on our
jersey
way.
ready to
That's
go.
right, McCade.
Hey,
right there.
yeah, good, bringing
But-
that good luck juice.
Already heading towards
We are
next week.
on our way with the talent, finally.
Yes, yes.
But I mean, to your guys' point, let's say the Ace hits like a medium outcome or even like his floor. I think a lot of people have thrown out his floor kind of being like a Michael Porter Jr. type, which again, even if a median outcome is like an Andrew Wiggins outcome, both of these guys were what, third, fourth best players on championship teams, right? And so I think Ace has a pretty good floor, pretty good medium outcome, but I guess we haven't talked about it, and I know you don't like throwing stuff out there, Adam, but what is a ceiling outcome for Ace then, if we're talking about floor and median outcomes for him?
I mean, I do think it is, 2 to 4, 2 to 5 all NBA type seasons.
Is he Paul George? Is he?
I mean, he talks about how he emulates and watches Paul George, so that is pretty natural. I think there's some explosive stuff around the rim that aligns to pre-injury Paul George that I think likes. Most of us now have kind of gotten used to the post-injury Paul George, right? The Oklahoma City, Los Angeles Clippers Paul George, right? Who's a little more methodical in the pick and roll, those step back threes.
Push off P.
Exactly, the push-off piece stuff. But the Indiana Paul George pre-injury was pretty explosive right at the rim, so I like that. And I mean, the Tracy McGrady stuff, makes a lot of sense too. It's hard for me to plan on that sort of thing kind of happening. But even on kind of the worst case, I think he's probably like a lankier, more slender, a Kevin Martin. You know, starts for several teams in his career. Great player off the bench for most of his career. Like I think that would be it'd be disappointing, but I still think that that's what a double-digit NBA career, season-wise.
And by the way, just one of my fears, no pun intended, was that we might actually be trading him. But Jonathan Gavoni just tweeted out a couple minutes ago that we're planning on keeping him. So he's
We're
here.
7-8 years away from having to trade him. We'll worry about that later.
Indeed, indeed. All right,
I do
looks
have a
like
question for
Washington
you,
is up
Mark.
with their. Oh yeah.
No, we can wait and see the Wizards pick. But I have a question for Mark and the rest of you on kind of the Jazz more macro strategy the last couple drafts. I've noticed an interesting pattern. Did they take Trey Johnson?
Trey Johnson's the pick for Washington.
So Taylor Hendricks and Bryce Sensabaugh were like 30, 40, 50 prospects. Keontae George, the three they took last year, and now Ace Bailey have all been really, really high school prospects that have now fallen in the draft. Keontae George was ranked 7th. He goes 16. Kyle Filipowski was a top 5 prospect coming out of high school, struggled, went to his sophomore season of college basketball. They got him at 32. Isaiah was the number 1 prospect in the country and fell to 29. We've started to see this pattern now with 5 of the last 6 Jazz draft picks with Ace Bailey being top 2, 3, 4, 5 high school players that didn't have the best college year and kind of fell a little bit. Is that a good strategy? Do we as random social media basketball lovers put too much into, hey, what is happening in college than just trusting the prospect coming out of high school?
Yeah, well, so I have a couple thoughts on this. Number one thought, you know what they call that? They call that the Danny Ainge special. That is definitely Danny Ainge. If you go back and look at his drafting in Boston, the same thing happened. He would always be looking to draft these guys that were coming out of high school, the high pedigree, kind of all the accolades, and those were the guys that he targeted, right? Like not every single pick was that, but generally speaking, his willingness to draft those guys at really any stage of the draft is pretty consistent and is a lot higher in frequency than like your average GM, right? So that 100% is a Danny Ainge thing, and I don't
Avery
disagree
Bradley,
with
number
him.
4, took him 19th. Great example.
Yeah, and like I think there's a lot to be said for. I actually think that players that are disproportionately good when they're younger, I think that's actually an underrated signal that most people discredit and discount, right? So I don't blame it. And I mean, if you think about it, like who was the guy that went late to Milwaukee last year? AJ, what was his name? AJ something.
AJ Johnson.
AJ Green.
AJ Johnson. I think it was AJ Johnson, but he was like kind of a similar guy where he was high pedigree guy, fell in the draft, got drafted, got traded to Washington, right, as part of the Kuzma trade. And then he's actually been like pretty decent, right? And part of the reason is that he's been decent is because he just has that raw natural talent that got him the accolades and the hype coming out of high school, and that just pretty much always translates to the league at some baseline level. Like it's hard to be a true full bust in the league if you have a baseline level of natural talent, right? So I think it's a good strategy, and I actually think it's a strong signal for good prospects. So I'm a fan of it.
I think it's probably going to be even more true the more we go along, where there's a more drastic separation between the one and done talent and the long-term NIL going to really maximize my college earnings sort of talent. Because I think what we're going to be seeing as we go along more and more is that these players will start landing even more where the big NIL money is. So that's like their first big paycheck before the NBA. And that's naturally going to mean that it may not be the best basketball fit to maximize their appeal to scouts, to GMs, and putting them highest on the board potentially. And then if they're struggling kind of right out of the gate, if the coach knows, hey, this is just a one and done guy, I don't really have the runway to invest in them long term. You know, you'll see some of the playing time kind of disappear. and it's a little hard to, in my opinion, really kind of figure it all out. So I think it's a pretty good strategy when you take it in the, hey, if you were to take 4 or 5 of these guys, I think you'll hit on a couple.
Yeah.
I love the Trey Johnson to Washington fit. I don't know about you guys, but I think Washington is head over heels excited about this. Putting him next to Bub Carrington, I think, is tremendous. I think there's more point guard potential you can plumb from Bub, and especially the fact that they got rid of Poole and they drop in Trey Johnson there. I'd be ecstatic if I'm Washington.
I love what Washington's building. I love Alex Sarr. Well, I wouldn't say I love Koulibaly, but I think that he has potential. I do love Bub, like you're saying, and they've got a ton of vets too. They're such a weird team. I don't know what the heck they're doing over there, because literally you could start 5 vets there, right? They've got Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk. I can't think off the top of my head who the other 2 are, and then they have tons of awesome.
Did they just
young
land?
talent.
No, that was Brooklyn. That just landed Terrence Mann. Pretty
I
sure.
saw a graphic earlier. I'd have to go look and see, but I think they're building pretty well over there in Washington.
Yeah. No, I'd be stoked if I were them. So the guys that are on tops of boards, Josh, you had Derek Queen. He was your 5th ranked prospect on your board. Colin Murray Boyles at 8 for you. Mark still has Malawach at 3. Fears at 7. I got Fears at 6. Cedric Coward at 7. And then the consensus board has Malawach and Fears respectively. Where do y'all think New Orleans is going with this one?
So I heard, this is like a random thing that I heard. But I heard the Pelicans are like heavy in on Derek Queen, and I think the betting odds flipped to him kind of late. I'm really curious to see if they actually pull the trigger on him here, especially with Malawach on the board and Jeremiah Fears. But I had heard that, and then today the betting odds kind of matched to that, so wouldn't shock me if it was Derek Queen, which, by the way, would be a really interesting fit on the Pelicans. That would be really kind of fun in a lot of ways, so that would be my bet right now.
Well, what are the Pelicans doing? Why is Trey Murphy on the trade market? Like, what?
Wait, Josh,
are they
you don't
even
believe
doing?
in the Jordan Poole Zion Williamson tandem?
that was such a weird I think my reaction to that trade was like, yeah, I'll take random trades for 100, right? It was like, what is this trade?
Very random, but I liked it for Washington, and I could not understand.
Hey, there's
what
championship
New Orleans was
experience
doing.
there going to New Orleans, okay?
Oh,
Looks like
okay.
Jeremiah Fears is the pick for New Orleans.
Interesting.
Wait, so
And
Jeremiah
they did give up
Fears-
their point guard in CJ McCollum, I guess.
Yeah, but he's got to play with Jordan Poole now. Is that?
Oh my
That'll be
God.
brutal.
A lot of missed
I
shots,
don't
Mark.
love this
A
fit.
lot of
Don't
missed
love
shots.
this fit at all.
Yo, he's never gonna see the ball.
Maybe they
Don't
could
love
trade
this
for
fit at
Jordan
all.
Clarkson to top it off.
What are they doing?
This is a very
Oh,
strange
man.
fit. We can kind of see where the industry had him. No ceilings was kind of the lowest on him out of most of the industry.
Adam, are
mocks.
these mock drafts or these draft board ranks?
These are mostly mocks, but some have big boards. So I think No Ceilings was their latest big board. But yeah, that's a little bit of the tough thing. Sometimes you get a mock, sometimes you get a big board, and sometimes they're not updated in tandem, so it's a little tricky that way. But it's still interesting that even after the combine, people keep listing him at 6'4".
Hey, I got hammered on Twitter today for saying Ace Bailey was 6'10", so, we just roll with the bigger numbers. Let it fall where it may.
I don't know, 6'7.5" to 6'10". Yeah, that's a big jump, but it feels bigger 6'2.5" to 6'4". I don't know.
It's been one of those draft cycles. Like, everybody was saying that Khan was 6'8", Ace Bailey's 6'10", Jeremiah Fears is 6'5". It's like, yeah, that's like 3 or 4 inches too high on all these guys.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we talking about?
Hey,
And then
so,
all the Europe kids who weren't able to measure at the actual combine. Noah Sengate measured spot on. Ben Saroff measured spot on.
Yeah.
Johan Berenger spot on. It's like,
Yep.
okay, this is weird.
So I got to ask you all, how tall are you guys, and are you honest about your heights?
We're gonna do the kill Tony, pull out the measuring tape.
Because I tell everybody I'm 6'5", but I'm probably closer to like 6'4¼ for being
Yo,
honest.
but you're like legit tall though. So
Yeah, but my hair gets really fluffy, and I get a couple inches from that. So I don't think I'm quite actually 6'5". I think I'm closer to like 6'4¼
well, I bet you're taller than Jeremiah. That's my guess here. So
I'm on the generous end of 5'9", probably.
Mark, there's only
I
ever
just-
been 3 people that have made me feel short and small. So
you're saying that about me?
no, I'm saying me. I've only been around 3 people in my life where I've been like, whoa, you are
Okay.
huge.
I was about to say, I'm like, yo, you're taller than me. What are you talking about?
No, it's Yao Ming, Shaq, and Rudy Gobert are the only 3 people that have been like, holy crap, you are just a big person. Any other like normal 7-footer, I'm closer to than most 5'10" people. So it's
Yeah,
not a big deal.
Rudy is freaking
And Shaq's
tall.
just massive.
Yeah.
I gotta shout out my guy Kirk McKee. When that dude's on the basketball court, he feels big.
He is
Oh
big.
yeah. He'll put you.
Shout
he'll
out
put you in the
Kirk, man.
basket.
Hope you're doing well,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, Kirk's good about too. So did you guys see the report today that Ace actually had a private workout yesterday or the day before? And
New Orleans,
I
right?
forget. No, well, what's her name? Kristen, whatever. I thought
Kristen
she said that it
Peak?
was.
She said
I
it was
thought she said it was
Washington.
Washington. So
Yeah.
Rafael Barlow just tweeted out and said it was actually with the Jazz. It was in
Whoa!
Salt Lake City.
Holy cow! Really?
Really?
Let me
That
read this
is-
to you guys. I don't know if it's legitimate or what, but it says, here's what I've heard.
Plugged in.
Bailey has completed at least one private workout with a team he zeroed in on. Which team? That part's still murky. Nobody's confirming, but let's just say some believe Bailey could be hoping to find his shooting rhythm in a city known for jazz.
Oh,
So
I
that
do
could be
remember
New
hearing
Orleans?
that. Yeah.
That could be New Orleans or Salt Lake. That's very ambiguous there.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that, and I immediately thought New Orleans, but definitely interesting. Gonna have to tune into the next NBA Big Board podcast. Maybe he sheds a little light on that post draft.
Hey, I've looked
When it-
into it, and there's some sources out there in the music industry that say Utah's a super sneaky jazz market. I don't know if that's just because the basketball name brought it, but I've seen places say we have a top 5 music jazz vibe in the country after the Memphises and New Orleans of the world. So
What
Give us some
we really
respect.
need is we need Tony and Andy and all the media. What was it? Was it after the root? What did that like live stream on the Spaces where
they've
they
done
just like
4 or
told
5 now.
they just
Oh,
like
that
told
was
everything.
incredible.
You remember that
Man.
one? They just like laid everything out there and
The
it was
amount
like
of laundry
totally
they aired.
yeah, they aired all of the laundry. That's what we need. We need them to get
We
on
do.
because clearly Andy knew, which means Tony knows, right? And they've just been pussyfooting around it the whole time. So they got to know what really has gone on with this whole process.
Honestly, I bet it was probably New Orleans because now Andy's tweeting out that Gavoni said that Utah was not one of Ace Bailey's preferred destinations. So I had no idea what I'm talking about. Who knows? But yeah, hopefully that does come out to your guys' point. Hopefully we get some more clarity on that.
So I've also heard reports that Ace is the super nice guy, and he just more than a lot of prospects loves basketball. Like there, you can go read stuff about him with Team USA and just having a great experience and having the best personality with USA basketball and all that fun stuff. I don't want to talk us up too much, but like I said it earlier and I'll say it again, we have the most basketball courts per capita in the country. Like there's a basketball court every 10 feet in Utah, both inside and outside churches. Like it's not just the churches, but there's other outdoor basketball courts and just a good culture here of youth basketball, adult basketball, and just basketball. If he truly does want to just focus on that, Utah's a much better place than the bright lights of Brooklyn, the I can't get fans in the door or players on the court in New Orleans, or the we haven't won 50 games since 1970 whatever of the Wizards. Like Utah is the place to come play basketball and just focus on that.
Yeah, we're the Indiana of the West, right?
Yeah.
Like we're just
Yeah.
we really are a basketball town. And yeah, it's time for Ace to put his money where his mouth is. Like if you're really all about ball, then you shouldn't have a problem with this, right? And I think it was Gavoni was saying, he's like, look, like people should be wanting to go to Utah. Like he's like, I understand it's the Utah market, whatever, but they got great leadership, they got great ownership, they have great facilities, they have an amazing coaching staff. He's like, what are we even talking about, right? And so, and that's totally true. And again, maybe if we can get Mr. Dwayne Wade to remember he's actually an owner in this franchise, he can actually call Ace up and do us a solid. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we love our basketball here, but the Golden State Warriors in their prime did so much damage to our perception.
Wow! Sorry to cut you off, Josh, but Yegor Demon goes 8th to Brooklyn. Wow!
Nets
BYU fans are never going to let me live that down.
Oh my goodness! Wow!
I know
this is
Nets
incredible
fans,
stuff.
Don't the Nets know they have like 4 more picks over in that range?
Wow.
Yeah, just to remind you guys, we all hit the over pretty strong for Yegor Demon's draft position, and the under hits at 8. This is just a shocking development. I mean, we can see kind of the distribution of where Mox kind of had him, but this is easily on some of the most optimistic ends of the spectrum here.
I like him, but that just puts so much extra pressure on him too. To come in and perform at a $5 million level versus a $2 million level is just a completely different ball game.
Hey,
That's a big ask.
I will say this: before I became a coward and I adjusted my rankings, I had Demon at number 8 above Knipple and Yakachonis. So for me, like, I actually don't hate the pick here, but certainly I thought I was still very high on him as my 10th best prospect. So, and I know Nets fans, because I've seen them on Twitter, they are going to be furious about this pick. They're going to be so ticked. They're going to be so ticked. Yeah, so this is, and especially with all the picks they had, right? You would have thought they would have got him later.
I was just going to
ask. 8, wow.
I mean, even if he slips,
right?
and I mean, even if he doesn't quite get to 19, I mean, like, let's say he's still available at 16 from Memphis.
Yeah, but keep scrolling down. There's more Nets picks below there. Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
two
yeah.
more.
Yeah, you could
You got
easily
ammo.
put 19 and 26 to get up to 16 or something. Like, good. This is wild. This is very wild. They must have been fearful that, I don't know, someone in the 10 to 14 range was going to gobble him up. I don't know, maybe Chicago to pair him with Giddey.
He's a guy that needs minutes. If they got 5 rookies coming in, I'm sure they won't end up with 5 by the end of the night. There's not enough minutes to go around for 5 rookies. Do you really want your 8th overall pick who needs 2,000 minutes to come into 4 or 5 rookies? Like, that just feels awkward to me. We've seen it with the Jazz the last few years. Is you got to get these guys on the court, and he's a guy you especially need to get on the court.
Look at the Brooklyn fan they're showing. Are you watching
Yes.
ESPN? He is so ticked. That's what I'm saying.
The other New York fan base.
The draft's in Brooklyn too, always, huh?
Oh, dude. They got to be furious. Holy cow.
Well, this
That's
is an over-under
so
we
funny.
haven't gotten to, but the number of players selected by Brooklyn in round 1, I had it at 2.5.
I still think it's over.
Yeah.
But it won't be 5.
I wonder about, to your point, McCade, I don't know if that's the best fit for Jaeger. Like, I just don't know what that's going to look like for him in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Who
I
was their
actually hate that
Who was
pick.
Brooklyn's point guard last year? Was it Cam Thomas?
Cam Thomas and D'Angelo Russell, right?
Oh, yikes.
But here's the thing too. Like, I actually think for him, and this will sound bad, and McCade's going to be like, "Oh, that means he's a bust." But I actually think the best situation for him would be to have gone to a little bit better of a team with some more veterans, and he goes and spends a year in the G League. Like, I actually think if you put him in the G League for a year and then brought him on and played him more next year, I think that would have been ideal. But I think, like, in Brooklyn, I think he's just going to have to play, and I don't know if that's good for him.
Top 10 picks in the G League are a bust. So, yes, if you're saying the G League now.
See, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, because we
But
had
if
this
they would have
conversation.
been drafted at 19 and gone to the G League, I wouldn't care. Like, that's a good option.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, he's gonna go like borderline lottery or late or outside the lottery, and so yeah, sure, you go send him to the G League, let him develop his body, let him get a little bit better with some of these things, and then you bring him online. But Yeah, I don't like that landing spot for him, which is really unfortunate. And by the way, I thought, like, is Brooklyn still owned by the big Russian billionaire? Is that why
No,
this
they moved in
happened?
2019. I was gonna
Is there
bring that up.
what's that guy's name? Is his ghost hanging around?
Prokhorov? It used to be
Yeah,
Prokhorov, right?
yeah, and he had Kirilenko all involved with that for a while. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, maybe the ghost of the Russian past made this pick. I don't know.
The Darren Williams, Boyan Bogdanovic, Brooklyn net combo.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
That's right.
So with Demon going this high, which of the next, I don't know, 4 or 5 teams does this help the most? You think? Because I mean, looking at the consensus top remaining, Malawatch is still available. I think Phoenix especially is maybe eyeing that with some real intrigue, since they're just a team of shooting guards right now. I think. I
Yeah,
think they
yeah,
only have
literally.
shooting guards. So, that's pretty interesting. What do you guys think? What of the next 5 teams does Demon going this high suddenly make the draft board really interesting?
Teams that want bigs. The fact that Queen and Malawatch are still on the board. So, I mean, I think this bodes really well for Toronto, for Phoenix, for Chicago. I think they're super happy that the board's fallen this way.
I thought the same
Yeah.
thing, Josh, except I'm gonna go with Atlanta. I think Quinn Snyder wants to replace Clint Capella, and he's gonna be able to do that pretty easily.
That would be awesome. I honestly,
Especially
whoever
if
gets,
Porzingis is coming in to play the 4, not 5.
yeah. And I
I do
honestly
love
think,
the Porzingis and Onyeka Okongwu pairing there.
Oh,
I,
yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
that's a pretty nice front court. But I mean, you could supplement Malawatch in there, and if he hits immediately, I mean, all the better.
Does he fall all the way to 13? I don't
I
think that he's
can't
going to
imagine
fall to
so,
that.
but
He's
I don't
not
think he
gonna-
makes it past
No,
Phoenix.
but
Yeah.
you start falling, and then you start making calls, and all of a sudden things happen.
I would be
Yep.
shocked if he didn't go in the next 2 picks. This pick included. Like, and honestly, whoever gets him is getting tremendous value. Like, I just think his floor is really high. His ceiling's pretty high. We just saw 2 teams in the NBA Finals that had centers that could protect the rim and shoot the 3 ball, and I'm a believer in his shot from 3 moving forward. And so I think it's not hard to talk yourself into that. That's the kind of player he can be for you. And I mean, like, bigs are premium right now. Like, the Lakers are desperate to get a big. They would be desperately wanting somebody like him, right? Like, I think it's a pretty safe pick, and he shouldn't be here. Like, he should not be here at this stage in the draft. And as far as I've been told and what we've heard, like, his medicals are clear, so it's not like some big guy with a lower body injury that's causing him to drop, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see where he ends up going here.
Yeah,
Can
so
I
it looks
ask a
like the pick
macro
is
draft
in for
question?
Toronto. Oh yeah, go for it.
The last 3-4 years, we've seen a ton of international players, ton of G League Ignite players, overseas elites got in there. These are all college guys, and even the international ones came over and played American college basketball. Is college basketball back, and is that because of NIL, or what's going on here where it's college basketball team, I think, for all top 8 picks, correct?
I think you're seeing a ton of Europeans come over and play college because they can get paid, just like they'd get paid over in the EuroLeague or whatever. So I think I would lean towards that being the answer. I've seen a lot of people that kind of have pushed that narrative, but I would agree with it.
So it looks like Colin Murray Boyles is the pick to Toronto Raptors at 9. It's a pretty interesting one. I think it aligns with a little bit of their type, I'd say, in Toronto. What do you guys think?
Yeah, he's kind of like replacing OG there.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say right off the bat, more of a handle than OG did coming out. But
Oh, you think so?
I think he's got a better handle than OG did coming out. Yeah.
Really? See, I think, well, one, I think, not to keep using this word, I think his ball handling is actually way overrated. And I think people forget, like, OG in college, like, could get a bucket. Like, he could score pretty good coming out of college. I personally, like, I like him. I don't love him. If I had to pick a guy that's going to bust in this range, I would actually pick him. I think he's got some level of a floor because of his defense, but I don't know. He cannot shoot. He really can't do anything off the dribble. I know people think he can, but like he's a straight line driver and he can only take advantage of guys if he has the advantage. He's not gonna like be a creator off the dribble, right? Like some people compare him to like Draymond Green or something even like that. And I'm like, I just don't see it. He can't shoot, and he's just kind of an okay athlete. Like I get it. He's like a classic draft Twitter advanced analytics darling, but he's just kind of okay. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this guy, to be honest.
I should clarify. When I say I think he's got a better handle, I don't mean in the open court. I mean in the half court. I think he's more sound with his dribble, right? To put a few moves on and to get from, the mid range to the cup. I think he's more sound there.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Adam. I disagree with Mark. Like, if you guys watched South Carolina games this year, they were atrocious. Like, and the fact that he scored 15, 16 points a game consistently on that bad of a team, being like the number one target on opposing teams' scouting reports in the SEC, is pretty impressive. Like, yes, he's not going to run pick and rolls, and he's not going to like break people down through his legs with the dribble, but he is an absolute dog. Of all the people that I would say I'm worried about busting, CMB is the last one, because he is probably the best interior defender from a point of attack standpoint, which is kind of weird to say because, I mean, when you think of interior defenders, you're thinking of rim protection, but he can guard 1 through 5. I mean, he was stopping Jeremiah Fears, Mark Sear, some of the elite guards that he was getting switched onto the SEC. He is arguably the best defender in this class, and I don't know how you bust, even if you can't shoot and you don't bring a ton of stuff to the offensive end of the floor. Like, I think he could be a vet in the league, a bench role player for 10, 15 years, just because he does all the dirty work.
Yeah, like, so my player comp for him is PJ Tucker, right? Like, bigger body guy that can defend almost like 1 through 5, right? But like PJ could shoot a little bit, and that's really where I come back to it, is like where and how he can bust, even if he's like elite defender, which we'll just have to wait and see, because it's just a different ball game defending in against NBA athletes in NBA spacing, right, at the speed that they play at. But like, even if he's an elite defender, he's got to be able to shoot. Like, you can't play in today's game if you can't shoot, right? And so that's really where I worry. I just don't buy his shooting upside like everybody else does. And so I don't know. That's the one thing that worries me. I like him. I had him 15th on my board largely because of his defense and his feel for the game. So like, I totally agree. He's one of the best defenders in this class for sure. I just really worry about how he survives with being able to not shoot like he does.
I think he could be a forward version of Wendell Carter Jr., but to that point, if he's more of a forward version, he probably does need to either be put right next to another big who could shoot, right? So he's kind of that playing that more initiator role at the nail, or he's got to have the shot come along to a respectable degree.
Yeah, I agree. Did you guys see who fell into Phoenix's lap?
Well, yeah, let's look at our top remaining here. So Malawatch,
you know what?
I think
By the way,
Malawatch should be the pick for Phoenix.
This is all just, again, proving that the NBA is rigged. This is all just a large conspiracy, because he should not have fallen. This is a reward to Phoenix that the league agreed upon. They were all like, okay, you're going to send Durant over to Houston. This is all going to work out. You're going to make this happen. This is what we want. But we're going to let Malawatch fall to you. This is exactly what you need. So, again, hashtag NBA is rigged. But if he's not the pick, then something's wrong, right?
He is the pick.
Well, no, it's Matt Ishbia parachuting in and being more involved, right? And he falls in love with Max Reynaud.
Thank goodness the NBA rigged Ace Bailey to the Utah Jazz.
You know what they call that? They call that the Michael Jordan Charlotte Hornets special. They screwed the whole thing up. They got all galaxy brained. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna take Khan at number 4, and they're like, no, Michael, you gotta play along, my guy. Like, we got you all those championships. You gotta take Ace, and they just whiffed on it. So We
Okay,
just
so
took advantage
Shams
of it.
just tweeted out the first trade of the night.
Ooh, excellent. Let
Let's
me
take a look.
snag that, and we'll get it up here for the group.
Yeah, this is a weird trade considering the Phoenix just took Malawatch.
It's also a weird
Yeah,
trade
what?
that Phoenix is negotiating this by picking a different player.
All right, so we got this breaking news. Charlotte Hornets are trading center Mark Williams to Phoenix Suns for the 29th pick tonight and a 2029 first-round pick.
Is that? I mean, how much worse is that than what they were expected to get from the Lakers before the trade was voided?
So from Charlotte's perspective, this is way worse than what Charlotte was expecting.
Time out. Did the Phoenix Suns just trade away a first-round pick? They don't
Yeah, how
have,
they
Matt
pull that off?
you
Ishiba,
know actually what
what?
that 29 pick is? It's the Jazz's. That 29 pick is the Jazz, Wolves, Cavs, worst of the three.
Yeah. They
Is
get
the pick that's there.
Oh, okay. So that's
it's
not a
not-
terrible pick
not-
to trade then.
No, it's not. a
No,
terrible
but if you
pick
don't
to
have
trade
any
for
money in your
Charlotte's-
pocket, I don't know if
yeah.
I'd be spending my money on Mark Williams.
Well, and Charlotte
that's a great
is,
point.
like, just devastated that they couldn't have gotten the Lakers deal, which
Okay,
was
let me
a
tie
swap,
let me
a
tie all
2030
this
pick.
back in. Let me tie this all back in. This is punishment for screwing up, and they were supposed to take Ace Bailey, so they called him up and said, "Here's your punishment. You're being forced to trade Mark Williams for absolute pennies on the dollar. This is the penalty fee that you have to pay for screwing all this up and sending Ace to the Jazz."
Well, what in the world is Charlotte doing? Do they have another pick? Why would they have not taken Malawatch if they were just going to trade Mark Williams? They
It's
don't have
very-
a center.
It's
I
very
have
bizarre.
no idea.
So,
Oh, maybe they're gonna.
does
trade
anybody
for John
think
Collins.
that Mark Williams gets to Phoenix and takes a physical and they're like, whoa?
That would be next level. That'd be incredible.
No, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna bail them out like they bailed out the Lakers. There's no way.
Is there a possibility they thought they were trading for Grant Williams? Phoenix has had this mishap.
Yeah, I was about to say, what was that?
previously.
Was that with the Dylan Brooks?
It was the
and,
Brooks,
Marshawn
yeah,
Brooks?
Dylan versus Marshawn, yeah.
I still can't believe that was like a real thing that happened.
That was an incredible Sega of drama. That was really incredible.
Oh, man.
That's like something McCade would do in a fantasy football league or something.
Yeah, but intentionally on the flip side.
You know what? That's facts. You would do that. You would try and do that to somebody.
Sorry,
else.
man, I just misclicked.
Yeah, you 100% would do that.
So Phoenix snags Malawatch and then trades for Mark Williams.
I actually like that a lot. Like their big man depth is awesome there. I think I would be totally happy with that. Two kind of completely different centers and bigs gives you a lot of optionality there. Great depth.
So McCade, do you have Mark Williams' contract up? You know, what's that runway looking
I
like?
do. Let me pull it up real fast.
I think this could be a little bit of a, oh, hey, you know, we get Malawatch settled and we move off of Mark Williams right when he kind of needs to get paid. And we've got, hopefully, very productive, you know, budget center, essentially.
Yes, this is actually a really good tandem with Jazz Talk. Because Mark Williams is in the same shoes as Walker Kessler, where he's a center coming off of year 3 and he's extension eligible. You don't have to extend him today. You can extend him next year as a restricted free agent. You can wait and see if he signs next summer and match the contract. Restricted free agency obviously gets kind of fun. But yeah, Mark Williams is just wrapping up his rookie contract with his final year. And this puts Phoenix in a spot where they can probably, I'd assume, wait, see if he's healthy, give him some minutes, and then next summer either extend him or match a restricted free agency offer, or say this isn't working out, get out of the way. We got our future center of the future. So a lot of different routes for Phoenix to go here. I think trading players between their third and fourth season makes a ton of sense. We see it quite frequently where Team A, who drafted him, is a little disappointed that he's kind of a bust, and so they want to move on. And Team B kind of enters this second draft state where they say, hey, this is a good draft pick. It didn't work out, but we'll take the second swing at it, right? And so it makes a lot of sense for teams to trade for these 3 years in guys.
Yeah, 2 coins in the
happens.
jukebox. See which song they prefer.
Yes, sir. So I mean, he's making 4 or 5 million this year. Nothing exciting, but that's where the contract situation is sets him up for the future to have multiple options.
By the way, so happy for Malawach. He's such a good guy. Such a cool story. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like, good for him and his family. That's incredible.
Looking ahead a little bit, well, a little ahead to Portland, but behind a couple days ago to the trade where Portland landed Drew Holiday from the Boston Celtics for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. Portland's kind of getting frisky a little bit. Like it seems like they're kind of wanting to start the next phase of, hey, we got Scoot Henderson, we've got Shaden Sharp, we've got Donovan Clingan. You know, we moved on from Anthony Simons. We didn't want to pay him again coming up, and bring in Drew Holiday. I think you've said it, Mark, in many places. One of just the best guys you could have in a locker room. So what do you guys think that Portland is planning here at number 11?
I actually think Derek Queen would be awesome there, where they, to your point, have so many awesome defenders. I think that's kind of Queen's big deficiency is defense, but I think he gives them a ton of versatility, and just more options, more optionality.
I should have checked the Twitterverse before asking you, Josh. But we do have some news on that front. Looks like the Blazers are trading this pick, which will be Cedric Coward, to Memphis.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I love that.
I've loved
actually.
this for Memphis.
Yeah,
You
that's
trade
awesome.
away Desmond Bain, and you get a guy in Cedric Coward who could have 90% of Desmond Bain production in 3 years or something, if things hit right.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm a big fan of Cedric Coward, and and just exactly what you said. That fit, you put him in the place of Bain. Like he's not gonna be Desmond Bain. I mean Desmond Bain was a freaking problem, right? He was really good, but that shooting, that size, that athleticism, the defense, like he brings a lot of like similar things to the table. In fact, my player comp for Cedric is Lindsey Hunter. I don't know if you guys remember him, like back on the Detroit teams. He just was kind of this tough defensive guard that shot threes, like kind of a glue guy for contending in playoff teams. And yeah, I mean that's what Memphis needed after shipping Bane out. So I love that fit. That fits their organization and what they need perfectly. And funny enough, I actually thought he would have been a good option for Portland. Just maybe opposite thinking of Josh, thinking like, hey, if Portland wants to continue to build their defense, like Cedric Coward or Carter Bryant, those kind of guys would have been really an interesting fit for them. But you know, Memphis swinging in here and scooping them up.
I'm interested. So did they trade into the draft? I'm interested to know, what did Memphis send Portland in that deal?
Well, I suspect. I mean, Memphis has that number 16 pick from the Desmond Bain deal with Orlando.
Oh,
We
I see.
haven't
So
seen any
they just traded back,
confirmation.
probably.
I suspect that. Yeah, they might have thrown in one of the Orlando.
Did they
one of
get the
Orlando
Phoenix
picks.
first for next year or something like that? That might. I mean, that would have a ton
Yeah,
of value.
that
It's
does
probably
have a
not
ton
that
of
one.
value.
That could be top 10, 12 ish. But they got a couple Magic picks there at the end as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking for Shams to clarify, but so far
Memphis is
nothing
such
yet.
an interesting spot because the West is so much better than the East, and so Memphis just looks like the 12th best team in the league, 15th best team in the league, but they're the 10th or 12th best team in the West, especially next year with injuries. And I'm curious to see where they go. I'm curious to see what they gave up for and to move up 5 picks. And I get it. Like if you like your guy, you go get him. But I'm very interested to see Memphis develop over the next 2, 3, 4 years. I think they're in a tough corner.
I agree. They've kind of, remember when they were kind of ascending when we knocked them off in the playoffs back when we had Donovan Rudy, and now they're taking a step back, I feel like.
They are
Yeah,
a great example to show how short windows are.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I was about to say. They're a great example of how hard it is to win in the NBA and then to sustain winning. Like they were the up and coming team, and now they're just a mess, right? And that happens so fast. I mean, you can fall apart incredibly quickly.
Phoenix.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I
Made
was
the
about to say,
finals and just
me and
gone.
McCade are on the same wavelength. I was about to say the same thing about Phoenix. Like they were in the finals and now they're just a complete disaster. Like that, it's just hard. I mean, look at us. We were the number one team, and then we completely fell apart. You know, it's just how it goes. So,
And then it
I'm
is
curious
so
to
hard
see
to
how it
get
goes in
back.
Memphis.
It is so hard to get back.
Oh, it's so hard. Yeah. Look at Boston. Like Boston was like, oh, we're
Milwaukee.
gonna have this, yeah, and like it was gonna be this dynasty, and now it's like, well, they might be contending for a top 4 pick next
They
year.
might
They
be
trade
trading Jalen Brown to the
and-
Utah Jazz.
Not anymore. Not anymore. They're not. We got Ace. We don't. Who needs Jalen Brown when you got Ace?
Hey, we'll take
And
all
by,
the
and, by,
wings.
and by the way, I don't really care what Memphis and Portland do. Ace is gonna give them those buckets, right? Like, who cares? The Jazz got Ace. He's gonna smoke those guys.
Oh,
So it
wow.
does look like it is
They
the number
gave up a
16.
ton.
Yeah, number 16, 2028 first rounder from Orlando, and then 2 seconds. So pretty good haul from Portland, moving back from 11 to 16.
Heck yeah.
Portland gave up 2 seconds with Anthony Simons, correct?
No, I
so they're
think
coming
2
out
seconds
neutral.
to Portland.
But they
Portland
gave
gets
up
2
2
seconds
to
as well.
Boston, so they're coming out
Oh,
relatively
yeah,
neutral.
Yeah, they come out neutral on the Drew
2
Holiday
seconds.
trade from Pick's perspective. Yeah.
You know what's so
Portland's
interesting? So this
building
is,
a little slow, but they are building, and they are committed to Chauncey Billups. I think he's like the 8th longest tenured coach in the NBA right now. And they were good last year. You know, they won, 35, 36 games right there with Phoenix. Like, Portland's slow, but they're building. And I
Are you
like
saying
trading
that
back
they-
and getting more value for them.
Are you saying that they're going to carry the momentum of last season into next season? Is that what you're saying?
Probably not. They're probably going to stay right there at 36 wins. But
Okay, just want a clarification. As a Jazz fan, I know how that storyline goes. I will
it's
say what's
linear
interesting.
progress, Mark. Progress
I will
is
just-
linear.
That's right. Just some more maybe context to my board and my process. I actually had after first grades, I had Cedric Coward at 11. And then I got a little skittish because he's older and he played against a lower level competition, so I kind of knocked him down a little bit because of that to 14. But that's the second guy now. So Demon I had originally at 8, and then I chickened out, and then I had Cedric at 11, and I chickened out. And if I just would have stuck with that, I would have hit it right on the head.
I had Cedric at 7. He was the last of that tier, and so now we're firmly into my 3 tier.
Oh wait, so you had him at number 7 overall on your board?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you gotta give us the spiel then. I'm curious to hear why you had him so high.
So, what I kind of thought is that he's shown a pedigree for getting better, and then what he kind of showed in a limited time with Washington State, I thought he put together a package of tools that when you combine with the pattern of progress at different competition levels, I thought that spelled good things given the measurables. He's already solidly built, and I think he can put on more weight, and he's got the length and pretty good athleticism. I just thought that the package of tools combined with the pattern of progress at different levels was really appealing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When part of the reason I had him so high is after grading him, I was like, I don't really know if he's like bad at anything, and he's like really really good at some like shooting. Right, he's an elite level shooter. His post up game, weirdly, he's like a 99th percentile scorer out of the post, and he just completely beat the crap out of those people in the post when he got those guards. And like he can get a bucket, and he's good on defense. He can pass. He's got good feel. He's got the athletic tools. He's got the frame. So at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't know if he's bad at anything. So I guess you're just really good.
That was kind of the Cason Wallace case 2 years ago.
That's right.
There wasn't necessarily an elite trait that you were like, okay, yeah, this is definitely going to be how he sticks in the NBA long term. But it was hey, the package is so solid that he's not bad at anything. So it just has to translate.
Yeah,
It's
one
NBA
and his
champion Casey Wallace right there.
That's right.
Indeed.
That's right. And he could have a similar role on a team, right? Just like Wallace did. Like he wasn't like a huge contributor to OKC, but he was an important contributor and a very valuable one, right? And I think Cedric could for sure fill a role like that. And the only other thing I was going to say is, from what I had heard, Cedric is like a plus plus person off the court. Like all the off court stuff was like A plus grades. Such a great guy. Such a great background. Like you're never going to have a problem with him. So you combine that with all of these things that we were talking about, you can see how somebody like him could go from where many people had him originally, which was a second round pick, now all the way up into the lottery.
So we do have a trade.
Trade.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So this trade, I think, is so stupid on New Orleans' part.
Most favorable.
What?
The top 10 pick.
You
With
should not.
Milwaukee?
You should not
With
be
Milwaukee?
trading. Oh, I'm not seeing the Milwaukee one.
The
It's
most
most
favorable.
favorable.
Oh,
of
I
New
see it, I
Orleans
see
and
it.
Milwaukee. What is going
That's a top 10 pick for the
on?
number 13 pick.
You do not trade picks from the 2026 draft, people. You keep those picks.
And
That's
for
right.
Milwaukee.
That's right. That's exactly right,
What
though.
is going on?
Regardless
Especially
of
when you're gonna miss the
regardless of who it's
playoffs.
coming from, you do not trade 2026 picks.
This is incredible.
That is phenomenal deal for for Atlanta. Like, who cares if we're moving back 10 spots? You're going to give us a free pick next year. We're absolutely going to take it.
You could have
That's
just traded away
incredible.
Boozer or AJ right there. Like,
Oh my gosh.
there has to be some protection on it, at least a little bit.
No, he says unprotected.
That is just incredible. Wow. Yeah. In the updated, unprotected right there. Good grief. That's incredible. Oh, and while we're all talking about this, Chicago lands Noah Senge.
They're going to have lottery balls to win the lottery next year from that pick.
Yeah, man. Atlanta just pulled off a major heist.
So they better.
They have been slaying this offseason, nabbing Porzingis, and some of
Getting
these
rid
other
of
deals.
Trey Man's
Wow.
contract?
Yep. Man, they have been winning.
Wow.
It's incredible.
So yeah, New Orleans better. I mean, I love Derek Queen, so they better hope that Derek Queen turns into a
There you
star
go.
better than
Close.
whoever they just gave up.
I mean, that's who they have to be targeting, that, right?
It is. The pick is in. Sorry,
pick
I'm
is
breaking
in?
news here.
Oh, breaking
just
news,
traded
Josh. Great.
A top 10 pick for Derek Queen?
That's
23.
Is that who the
and
Pels moved up for?
Yeah, you were right all along, Mark. Just off
Okay,
on the
yeah.
pick.
Well, so I had one of my buddies who does a lot of sports betting. He hit me up. He's like, "Yo, you gotta give me some intel. I want to put some money down." And I'm like, "Yo, first of all, I'm not telling you anything. Second of all, Pelicans are in on Derek Queen." But I told him, I was like, "I don't know which pick. Like, I don't know if it's 7. I don't know what was the pick they had, 21 or whatever, or not 21.
23,
It
I
was
think they just gave
23.
out.
Yeah. So I was like, I just heard that they're in on him. I just don't know which pick it's gonna be. So that's interesting that they moved up to get him. And by the way, just to not speed ahead too much. So Noah Senge, oh man, he's another one of those guys that I actually think if he made me pick who's gonna bust in this range, I actually think his bust potential is pretty high. I had him as number 11 on my board, but that's one of those ones where, like, I don't necessarily agree with my grading. I would have drafted him much, much lower, and he really scares me. I don't know what he really does at an NBA level. He's kind of a bad shooter. He's pretty good on defense, but he's kind of a tweener. He's not a great ball handler. He's like a okay, not great passer, like not a really great rebounder, but kind of okay I don't like. To me, I'm like, I don't really know what to think of him. And I don't really know what the vision is for him to succeed in the NBA. I would be concerned drafting him. I think his bust potential is pretty high.
So one thing to just point out really quick, on the broadcast, they're saying that Atlanta has the 13 and the 22, and we're updating this live. So 13 is to New Orleans with the trade that just happened. 22 went to Brooklyn in the Kristaps deal, and they get 23 in return in this New Orleans deal. So just to clarify, what you're seeing on the broadcast, we have it here correct on our board.
Interesting.
You were saying, Josh.
No, I agree with Mark in terms of the bust potential, but I also can see the vision with him. I think to Mark's point, I would have loved getting him at 21. So like say he falls a little bit lower,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's much
That would
better
have been
value there
tremendous value. Yeah.
to Mark's point. Um, but I love his length. I love his athleticism. I think that he can be a pretty good help defender, off ball, weak side defender for you. I don't know if I believe in his shot or his handle as much as a lot of people that had him like top 3, 4, 5 on their boards.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can see the vision with where they're coming from. He's kind of like a Bilal Coulibaly pick, or what was his name last year that went to Charlotte, which I absolutely hated that pick.
Oh, T. John Salone.
Yeah, he's kind of one of those like really raw athletic projects. But I kind of like him a little bit more than the other two guys. So I don't think it's a terrible pick, but there's definitely some risk involved, like Mark said.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Like 21, I'd be like, okay, sure, sign me up. But yeah, that's not where I would feel super great about him. And who would you compare him to? Like that's what I was struggling with. I'm like, is he Thabo Cephalosha?
Scotty Barnes.
Is he Scotty Barnes? But he like
That's
Scotty can
that's his
get a
ceiling
bucket.
best case. Yep, that's his best case outcome. Every time I watched film on him, his body type, like the athleticism, the length, I was like, that looks like Scotty Barnes. Definitely a rawer version of Scotty, maybe like a 15 or 16-year-old version of Scotty Barnes. But I think that has to be the vision there and kind of what you're hoping that he turns into.
Yeah. So
What about an
kinda,
average scenario of no defense Thaddeus Young?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
I can
that'd
see
be
that.
that'd be a little disappointing, quite
And
frankly.
Al
but-
Farouk Aminu, like kind of those weird wings that you're kind
Any
of
of y'all
not sure
remember
what to
Chris
do with.
Johnson? Utah Jazz great Chris Johnson.
Hey, shout out Chris Johnson, my guy.
I do buy the handle. I'm not buying the shot. I think I had the shot ranked or scored like a 4 out of 10 or something like that.
I will
do
say
buy
I
the
believe
handle.
I believe more in his shooting than I do with Colin Murray Boyles, and I believe in it more than Derek Queen. So
Wait, whose shot do you believe in more than Derek Queen?
Senge, I believe in his shooting upside more
Oh.
than Colin Murray Boyles and Derek Queen. Like at least when he shoots it, his mechanics are okay, and he actually looks confident in shooting it, even if it like doesn't go in. But like Colin Murray Boyles and like Derek Queen, when they shoot threes, it's like very uncomfortable for them to shoot. At least that's what it looks like, and they miss badly. And so I would buy in his shooting upside more than those two guys.
Josh, you're high on Derek Queen, right? Another
I freaking
super flag
love
teammate.
Derek Queen.
Let's hear it.
You had him at 5
Because
on your board,
athletically,
right?
he's Jaron Collins, so talk me into it.
Oh my gosh, people that I'd have to give Art and Chad a hard time with the Jaron Collins stuff. If you watch, okay, so this is my pitch for Derek Quinn. What conference was he in? He was in the Big Ten, and who were the two rookies or freshmen that everybody loved in that conference that played for Rutgers? We just drafted one, and Dylan
H.
Harper.
Is that his name?
Did either one of those win Big Ten Freshman of the Year in that conference? Who won Big Ten Freshman of the Year in the Big Ten? Derek Queen won Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And so I think people are sleeping on Derek Queen. It's just like they sit there and they knock his athletic numbers and his measurements and all this stuff. And it was so the parallel that I kind of draw is the smoke and the nonsense that people were throwing out about Ace. Like, you can't draft Ace because he's not going to work out for your team or whatever this smoke nonsense is. But the Jazz are like, we're not buying any of that crap, preferred destination stuff. He's the best player on our board. We love him. We're taking him. And it's the same thing with Derek Queen. I think people are buying into all of these dumb narratives, and they're just not watching the kid play basketball. Like, he has unbelievable feel for a guy that's 6'10" in terms of sometimes Derek Queen, he would just grab it off the rim. He would defensive rebound it. He'd put it through his legs. He'd cross guys up. He would take it all the way coast to coast, and he would dunk it on the other end. Like, you don't see bigs that can move, that can handle, that can pass like Derek Queen can. I understand that a lot of people don't like the way that his shot looks, but I buy into it a lot. Like I think people are buying into Jeremiah Fear shot a little bit. You can get the percentages there, but I'm just a believer in the upside there. I think he's a very unique talent. I love the Shangoon comps. I love the offensive hub comps. That's kind of the direction we've seen the NBA go. I could rave and go on and on about Derek Queen. I love a lot of the stuff that he brings to the court, to the team. And he's a
Jo-
dog. Like he just loves to win.
Josh said my trigger word, or the trigger phrase. I was telling McCade this before we started recording. Offensive hub when it comes to Derek Queen. I am not buying it. My comp for him is dollar store Carl Anthony Towns, and I do not mean that as a compliment. And the reason I'm saying this in discussion to the offensive hub conversation is when you watch Derek Queen play, he is completely out of control and he does not run an offense at all. Like he just does whatever Derek's gonna do, and like that's kind of where I get like the Carl Anthony Towns. Like Carl Anthony Towns just goes crazy. Like he just does whatever he wants. He doesn't really play within a system and an offense. Like that's one of the big problems with Cat is he's supremely talented, but he just is all over the place and is just an insane man, right? But like the problem is Derek Queen is like a fraction of the athlete that Cat is, and Cat can actually shoot and Derek Queen can't, right? So that's where like I understand that appeal and that upside, but like I really struggled with him with his lack of outside shooting, his just total chaotic play style, inability to run an offense. I think his ball handling is overrated. He's a horrendous athlete, and when I say that, I need to be careful because he does have good footwork. Like he's really balanced and has good footwork, right? So he's kind of almost like a sneaky athlete, ironically enough. But he's not explosive, and laterally, I think he's going to get absolutely slaughtered if you put him in a pick and roll and out on the perimeter. So like I get it, but like for me, I really struggle with him. He's just not my kind of player, and I think if you're going to be an offensive hub, you have got to be like elite on offense and have a really good feel for the game. And I just think he's too chaotic. And he just doesn't have that skill set to be there. And if you can't be a main primary offensive hub, at that center position with that skill set, that pretty much means you don't play, right? Like there's no like bench guys in the NBA right now who are like a bench version of Jokic, right? Or like a bench version of Sengun. Those guys just don't play because they're just not good enough. So that's where I really struggle with Derek Queen.
All right, San Antonio's up, and David Stern, or I wish it was David Stern. Adam Silver just announced this. Carter Bryant. Oh man, San Antonio. I feel like just nailed this pick. I was hoping they would go with like Asa Newell or something, but dang,
They continue to build the defensive fortress.
This is incredible.
That is an interesting pick for them.
Yeah.
I like that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
What's that
nice.
meme? It's like the worst person I know just made a good point, but it's kind of like the San Antonio Spurs just made another good draft pick. It's like, God damn it. Like, can they just stop? And again, I think I said early, like, I actually think he's overrated, but San Antonio is the exact kind of franchise and organization and the right team structure for a guy like this, right? So, like for me, that's like, oh crap, I should have kept my mouth shut until I saw where he went because, like, I just don't doubt guys that go to San Antonio. You know, it's kind of like when Pittsburgh drafts wide receivers in the draft. You're just like, oh crap, that guy's gonna be really good because they just produce really good wide receivers no matter what, right? So I really like this for San Antonio, and he's an obviously good fit for them.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but if you go over to the overs unders tab, does that mean I won tonight?
I believe so. Let's update that really quick. But
Yo,
yeah,
of course,
I believe so.
McCade. We're like watching the draft, and he's just like, "Yo, did I win the over?"
Yo, declare me champion.
Yeah, I think McCade, you hit all of. Well, I guess yeah. I mean, we all missed on the Jaeger,
yeah.
but yeah, you nailed those, man.
Okay,
Well
I
done.
just wanted to make sure we can go back to the.
But on the
beforehand.
Carter Bryant one, looking at some of the industry boards, honestly, this is pretty dang good value, right? He was kind of slotted in that 9, 10, 11 range, and snagging him at 14, San Antonio just feels like incredible value. Just more of that rich getting richer narrative. Man.
One of the things I really worried about him is he was going to go to a team in the lottery, and with those expectations that come with being a lottery pick, they were going to ask him to try and create and be like an offensive driver, especially off the dribble. And that's not really his game. Like he needs to be an off ball kind of spot up 3-and-D kind of guy who's really not handling the ball very much and doesn't have that offensive pressure on him and those expectations. And that's where like San Antonio, that's like a perfect with Dylan Harper, Castle,
Fox leading that transition
Wemby.
play.
Yeah, that is just so perfect for him because he
That'll
can
be
just
nice.
he can just knock down those open threes, play defense, and run the floor. Like, man, that I really like that fit for him.
So looking ahead, the Oklahoma City Thunder are on the board at 15. And it's interesting here because in normal Oklahoma City fashion, right, there was a lot of smoke about them trying to trade up. They have not traded up. So the question is, did they not trade up because there were no options? I tend to think not, given that we saw, Memphis come up, New Orleans come up. So is their guy available for them right here?
Are they going to take Jokic Jonas?
Jokic Jonas, but I also thought about
yeah, that would be a crazy pick for them.
I was thinking about Thomas Sorber, as their hedge against Hartenstein in 2 years.
Kind of a side
I would love
note
for us
is-
to trade up and get Sorber.
I was just going to ask this. We've seen two really expensive trades. The Pelicans gave up what might be a top 10 pick next year to move from 20 to 13. The Grizzlies gave up 16 and a 2028 first from Orlando to move up 5 spots to 11. Seeing how expensive it's been to move up tonight, is there interest right now for the Jazz to trade up from 21 to probably not 15? I can't imagine the Thunder want to trade back and get more assets, but Portland at 16, Minnesota at 17, Washington at 18. Are there guys on your board that are worth trading up for?
No. All of the guys that I love at that pick are still there. I've got like 6 or 7 of them. Sorber is probably the top of that list. I'm sure he's going to be gone before, but I don't think you need to give up any assets. You do what you did with the Ace Bailey pick at 5. You stay pat and you take the guy that you like there, I think.
I am generally against trading up at this stage of the draft. That being said, I do think Jokic Jonas is very, very interesting. Again, as a jumbo guard who can handle the ball and pass, and let's be honest, now with Keontae George and Ace Bailey, we need somebody who can pass. So,
yeah,
that's pretty interesting to me. I mean, essentially, you're getting a Jaeger Denham type player who maybe actually might be better than Denham.
A lot better.
Yeah, so like I had him as the 9th best player. I like him quite a bit. My comp for him was Brandon Podziemski, guy from, over in Golden State. I think he would be a really interesting target if the cost is not super prohibitive. But I also think that this range that I had from like 11 to like 33. I mean, there's a lot of guys in there, and there's somebody you're gonna like is gonna be there at 21, but. Jokic Jonas is kind of the one guy that I'm like, yeah, he's like the clear value on my board and would probably be worth moving up for. And he'd be a good fit for the team, in my opinion.
He would.
Hey, fellas, I got to jump off really quick. Thanks for having me on. Adam, boys,
thanks, Josh.
It was fun.
Yeah,
Ace Bailey is a jazz man.
You
Let's
brought the
go.
good vibes. We did it. We're coming back.
Josh proving my
Appreciate it,
point that we should stop after the lottery.
Oh, gosh.
All right. See you guys. Have fun.
Amazing. To piggyback off your comment, Mark, on Jokic Jonas, if things go right for him, if things go well sort of scenario, he could be a CJ McCollum type that's a little more natural at the point guard position instead of the shooting guard. So Jazz could really use that with how they're building. So that's a good play, but. Some of the other wings I was hoping would be around. This was more in the case we weren't able to get Bailey, and we were left with either Johnson or Fears. But some of the wings I like, Rasheer Fleming, I think he could fall all the way down to the 21.
Yep.
I would really like that as the Taylor Hendricks archetype insurance, basically.
Yep. I mean, he literally is the same mold as Hendricks, right? Like,
I think that archetype is valuable, and I hope Hendricks can meet the expectations for him. But I mean, if not, I think Rasheer Fleming can be insurance there, and frankly, if both hit, I think that's just you know more riches. I think that would be great. And then Nick Clifford, I'm a Nick Clifford guy. I think he would be awesome.
There's been a lot of talk and a lot of smoke about Neek and the Jazz, and I don't know if you've seen what he's wearing tonight. It looks like he's
I have not.
ready
No,
to get drafted.
I missed the.
You need to see his outfit tonight. It looks like he's ready to get drafted by the Jazz.
Oh, has he got a purple suit on?
I've never seen an outfit more prepared to be drafted by the Jazz.
I'm looking it up now.
What he's wearing, but
let's see. Come on.
All I know is this: I really don't want Oklahoma City or Minnesota to get Yakichonis. That would be very sad and frustrating and annoying. Oh, Thomas Sorber. That's the guy. They got their backup big. I kind of like that.
Yep. I thought that made quite a bit of sense, and it did kind of seem as though Sorber had, he had some 11, 12 sort of buzz, but there was potential, as you can kind of see here in the industry mocks, that he could have slipped into the 20s. So it sounds like to me OKC, was like, oh hey, he's gonna be right there for us, and I think it's a great heir apparent plan for Hartenstein when they don't want to pay him in 2 years? Is it McCade?
Yeah, the Thunder are in a weird spot because they got a lot of really good players, and they're going to get more good players, and so their goal is just going to be to keep it cheap, right? They're going to let players walk that are going to surprise you.
Yep.
And this is theoretically how they keep their dynasty going to win multiple championships. So,
yeah,
you mentioned Hartenstein
has
he has 2 more years. He has one more year and then a big team option that if they don't want to pay $30 million for, they can decline.
Yeah, and they're going to decline that for sure, is my guess, unless they're in the middle of trying to three-peat and they're willing to just pay out of the nose. But
yeah, but you got guys like Jaden Williams who are about to run up on rookie extensions, and
right,
really expensive, really fast.
It's gonna get very expensive.
When every player you take is good, it gets expensive.
Yeah, what a great problem to have.
Seriously.
But what I was gonna say is, again, Thomas Sorber, he was actually a guy pretty early on that I was higher on, and again, I kind of chickened out and I got a little scared with some of his athletic testing. And I think originally I had him at 18 on my board, so not quite this high, but early on, and you can go back and look, like I was kind of like, hey, this Thomas Sorber kid can like really play. I'm like, nobody's talking about him. And so I like this pick. I think athletically there are some concerns there. Like my comp for him was Tony Bradley plus. Shout out to nearly NBA champ Tony Bradley, but he's kind of got that same kind of bigger build, not a great athlete. But, he's got the size. Defensively, theoretically, he's going to be a difference maker. He was a huge difference maker on defense for Georgetown this past season and really helped them be a lot more than they should have been, right? And he's got some offensive game. Like he's got a surprising little jump shot he's got in the mid-range. So that's a pretty good and interesting pick there for the defending champs.
On the 75th percentile outcome, so that if things go well for Sorber, I was thinking like a smaller version of Ivica Zubac.
Yeah,
is kind of where I went. I think very young. He's got great length. He's fairly filled out already, being this young. So
yeah, he's got like a man's body. Like he's big. He's a big dude.
Speaking of OKC, did either of you listen to the Bill Simmons, Chris Mannix pod? I think it came out maybe this morning or last night. But Chris Mannix, the thing he's got his eye on as the biggest free agent in the next coming years is actually Sam Presti with these 2 expansion franchises.
That's true.
Potentially, like a Seattle, like, hey, we brought you in right before the team moved, and let's bring you back and have you build this sucker from the ground up again.
Hey, McCade, are there any like restrictions on how much you can pay like front office people?
Nope.
So so this is to me like value arbitrage that NBA teams don't take advantage of. Like
it's why people are terrified of the Lakers selling. Is they don't put any money outside of basketball, and now they are.
Yeah, like if you're the Lakers with that ownership, why don't you just go to him and you're like, we will give you like, I don't know what his current pay is, Sam Presti, but you're like, we'll pay you $200 million. Like, is he
Well,
going to say no to that?
Chris Mannix and Bill Simmons specifically said, "Oh, hey, with the expansion franchise, we'll give you 1% of ownership stake or 2%
Oh yeah,
of
that would
ownership
be
stake,
nuts.
something like that." That
Yeah.
would be unprecedented, but really, really, really interesting way
Look,
to start your brand new expansion franchise.
all I know is if I was the Jazz and we didn't have the Angels in town and we didn't just draft Ace Bailey and Justin Zanuck had done something crazy like draft Carter Bryant at 5, which by the way I heard that was maybe a thing with him,
Oh,
but
Jay-Z.
I would have gone to him and done that. I would have been like, "Yo, look, you can have 1%. I'll pay you 150 to 200 million dollars on top of that, and well, you're just going to be locked in here for life. You're going to be the Pat Riley of the Utah Jazz." And I don't know why teams don't do that. Honestly, like if you have guys like that in the front office or even coaches, right? Like, are there pay restrictions on coaches, McCade? Is it like players? Like, are
Nope.
there?
Again, it's another great example of the teams willing to have a billion assistant coaches instead of 3. You know.
Yeah, like the Jazz should have just gone to Spolstra and like you just go pick your who's who and you're like, yeah, we're just gonna pay all of you like $100 million, and we're just gonna build this franchise here, and we're gonna be done being the joke of the league, right? So teams should do that more often. That's all I'm saying. There's no rules against that.
The ownership part is super interesting. I'll have to think on that more, Adam.
Yeah, we'll have to have a pod on it sometime. You know, we need to do our
Crazy
next
ideas to fix the NBA.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so Portland, they traded back from 11. Memphis traded up from 16 to take Cedric Coward. Now Portland is on the board again. Some of the people we had kind of thought for them, Yakachonis is still on the board if they kind of want to go that route, which could be interesting. But frankly, Rasheer Fleming kind of fits in there at the 4 spot. Could be interesting. Clifford on the wing. I don't know, Mark. Where do you think would be interesting that Portland goes here?
I mean, Yakachonis is just I'm just gonna keep saying his name until he gets picked, just because he's clearly the best talent on my board. I'm really high on guys like Drake Powell and Will Riley. I think that they would be great picks. It's really hard to find guys with that size, with that talent, with that skill set, at those positions. So I just always am a fan of taking those kind of wings that can play shooting guard and or small forward and can play defense and handle the ball and shoot and kind of do all these things, right? Also, Newell would be really interesting. Talking about another pedigree guy that came out of high school really well decorated, and he'd be really interesting. And again, I think especially for Portland, like I said earlier, continuing to build that defense. Drake Powell and Newell in particular, I think would be really interesting picks there. You could even say Rasheer Fleming. I mean, they have a lot of really good options here, to be honest.
Okay, so help me out here, Mark. I've heard it both ways. Is it Asa or Asa?
I think it's Asa, but to be honest, when I watch games and videos, I mute it, because I just want to focus on the game.
Yeah.
There's
and I
the
don't
pick.
want the commentary to bias me.
It's an out there
either.
one.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, here comes Adam Silver up to the podium. McCade got a sneak peek.
Yes, my guy. My guy.
Oh man.
The guy
Dang.
that everybody that is actually what people think Derek Queen is. The man from China.
Man,
My
I'm
guy.
so disappointed. This one is great.
I love that pick.
I was hoping that he would
Look at all those 30s and 40s numbers.
I'm bummed that he didn't make
Yeah.
it to the Jazz, to be honest.
Me too. I was
I
like,
love
dang, I
this
know he
guy.
won't last into the our second round picks, but I was like seriously considering 21.
I had
Yeah,
him at
man,
27,
Portland.
and I kept wanting to move him up somehow. I love this
Portland.
kid.
Whoa, well done. Let's see where I had him. I think I had him right around
Best draft moments when they
29.
walked
I
up
had
from
him.
the crowd, by the way.
Oh, I love that too. Yeah,
when
they're
they're
sitting in
like,
the
I paid
crowd.
my own way here because I didn't get invited to the
Yeah,
green
dude,
room.
I love that. Oh, dude, I love this kid. And by the way, he's gonna be such a huge summer league fan, like a
Oh, I
fan
think he'll be
favorite.
so fun to watch.
Oh, and he's gonna kill it in summer, like just like in the combine scrimmages. He just like smoked everybody, and he's so fun. Oh
Well, I
man,
think
I
it was
actually love
Zach
this pick.
Lowe. I think it was Zach Lowe who was saying during his team workouts that wasn't speaking a lick of English, and so whenever he wanted the ball, he was just like grunting, and then he would get the ball and would just like put people in a penalty box. It was great.
Oh man, yeah. Late at night when I was having dangerous thoughts, I wanted to put this guy above Derek Queen because I legit think that he's actually what people think Derek Queen is, and I really like
The
this
focal
kid.
point of an offense.
He's an offensive hub. Look at the passing. Look at the
Yep.
passing. He actually can actually pass, not fake pass like Derek Queen can. Oh man.
I kind of got like Al Jefferson light vibes if things go well. His discipline, footwork in the post, I really like. I really like. And then he's got a bit of a shot too.
Yeah, and he can play defense. Like athletically he's limited for sure,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
he's just I don't know. He can he is really interesting. He's really talented, has a great feel for the game. He's also just got that kind of personality, like that fun, just like he loves to play ball. He's gonna beat the crap out of you and like let you know it, but like do it
I
with a
love
smile on his
this.
face.
I like
Yeah.
this. It is out there. It is way higher than industry boards and things like that. But I buy the set of skills. I think
I,
this is fun, and I think Portland is uniquely positioned to take this time of swing.
It also
yeah,
kind of
that's
goes to show why Portland traded back from 11 and probably tried to
yeah.
trade back again.
They're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
we're
like,
gonna get annihilated if we take him at 11.
But now you stack that with the other pieces of the deal. Just to remind everybody, they got 2028 first round pick from Orlando and 2 seconds to offset the seconds they sent to Boston as part of the Drew Holiday deal. Yeah, I think that's great.
I love
That's
that.
great. Very cool.
Wait,
We're
is
kind of
DeAndre
surprised
Ayton-
Brooklyn hasn't traded up yet.
Yes, I am. Although we did just oh no, Shams just posting about the Hanson Yang pick.
He, I feel like in the Shams world, without Woj, he tweets everything like 3 or 4 times to get more interaction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
indeed.
So wait, is DeAndre Ayton still on Portland, isn't he?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Dude,
at
Hansen
least on the
Yang-
roster.
Well, and, Ayton doesn't really actually want to be down on the block, right? He's always just out on the perimeter and doing a little mid-range
know
thing.
what
Like,
DeAndre Ayton
yo,
is.
him and Hansen Yang, that's gonna be hilarious. I'm like, sign me up
Well,
for that.
yeah, and I mean we can't forget about Donovan Clingan either. And
Oh, forget about Clean sucks. He's out of the picture now, so forget about him.
well,
Ayton
and
is
then
on
and then we have
expired
the
this year.
ghost of we also have the ghost of Robert Williams
That's right.
on Portland.
That's right. The Lakers' new center here pretty soon because they're not gonna have anybody else to trade for.
At least for a couple weeks, then he'll get hurt.
Oh, of course.
Ah,
Of course, they're gonna have him.
Baron
They're
J.
gonna have Gobert mentor this kid.
Johan Berenjay. That's a pretty good stack, I think.
That's actually
I think
so perfect. I hate that.
I think that having Rudy there will just expedite uh, that translation to the pros here in the United States just so smoothly. Language barrier, acclimation, I think that's just a great ploy and paves the way for some real cheap center help in a couple years.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I mean, as a Jazz fan, one of the things you're banking on is Gobert getting older and falling off, or them trading him.
Yeah.
And now, just like you said, like Gobert is going to be the perfect mentor for this kid. I mean, that's his upside. Like his ceiling outcome is Rudy Gobert, right? He's got those kind of tools, that kind of athleticism, that kind of length. That is very unfortunate. I hate it when the T-Wolves do good things like this, and that's a great pick by them.
Another great general manager who just does solid things.
And some of these figures are off here that I'm realizing. Johan is one of the youngest in the class at 18.6 years old. So that figure isn't right there.
Yep. You know what's funny too? On my board, I had these guys 27, 28. So I had them lower, but I had them back to back, and
Oh,
they
that's
go back to
interesting.
back in the draft. So
I had Johan, I think, 4 spots behind Hansen. At 31, I think I had him. But Tony Jones just posted on Twitter. Let me grab this. It's nothing breaking newsworthy, but he just said Asa Newell, Drake Powell, Nick Clifford, Nolan Traore, Rasheer Fleming, Hugo Gonzalez, Liam McNeely, Jace Richardson, Will Riley, Kasper Siakachonis, all still on the board. Jazz are going to have good players available to them at 21.
yeah,
I couldn't
totally
agree more.
agree.
This
Yep.
is stacking up really, really favorably for the Jazz to have a pick of 3 or 4 solid, really solid players with promise here at 21.
I actually would love to get another pick in this range, like trade Sexton or Collins or both of them or whatever.
You also
I'd
got
love to
2
get another
seconds you
pick.
can add to
Yeah,
try and
like
get into here.
like trade somebody, like take back some salary, trade them one of these expiring, send them a
Come on,
couple second
Brooklyn.
round picks. Yeah, like I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know
see
why
all
Brooklyn would do
all
that
this
at this
Brooklyn
point, but
equity right here. Yeah. Now, one
Yeah.
name Tony did not say, and I'm a little surprised, he did not say Walter Clayton Jr. Is that because he's definitely going to Miami here at 20? It sounds as though that's pretty likely.
yeah, I mean that's the
What's your
word,
read on that,
right?
Mark?
Yeah, I mean the word is Miami pretty much promised him, right? Um, and he'd be awesome in Miami. He's a total Miami Heat player.
Yeah,
But honestly, it might just be because there's so many guys, right? Like there's
that
just too
could be
many
sure.
names. There's
Let's
probably
go to our top
4,
remaining, actually.
yeah, 4 other names in there you could say, and so, yeah, I like it. I mean, there's gonna be somebody on the board that I think we're all gonna be pretty happy with. Now, whether or not they take somebody we're gonna be happy with, we'll see. But I like how this is shaping up for the Jazz.
Yeah, so between Josh, Mark, myself, and the consensus, all liking Yakachonis. Josh and consensus really like Jace Richardson. Myself and consensus really like Neat Clifford. Mark and I really like Powell. So there's a lot of options that are coming up for the Jazz.
By the way,
Mark, you're pretty high here on Will Riley. Oh, what were you about to say?
Oh yeah, I can talk about Will Wright, but I was just gonna mention I heard Drake Powell killed his workout with the Jazz. So
I'm not surprised. I like him a lot.
yeah, I heard he was really impressive. So whether or not that means you take him at 21 or not, we'll see. But you know, he's super interesting. I'm pretty high on him as well. But yeah, I really like Will Riley. Um, I think there's a non-zero chance that he can become a Gordon Hayward type wing. Not saying that's likely. If it was likely, he would have gone much earlier in the draft. But he has a really well-rounded set of skills. He's tall. He's what 6'8", 6'9", something like that. Not a great athlete, but it doesn't really limit his game because he's so big and tall, and he can handle the ball surprisingly well. He can shoot it pretty good. I mean, not great, but good enough. He can get to the rim and finish at the bucket. Defensively, he's got a ways to go, and I would wish he would have shown a little bit more in terms of his ability to create for other teammates. But again, like wings in that mold are just with that kind of skill set are just at a premium every single year. And the
Yeah.
Jazz, kind of like the Falcons and their edge rushers, it's like those wings are like you gotta have those. Like they're the most important position, most valuable position in the league. And for some reason, the Jazz have always avoided drafting them, just like the Falcons with their edge rushers. It's like, what are we doing here?
Not anymore.
That's right, not anymore. We fixed it at the completely wrong time. But what do you do? But yeah, so like that to me, I compared him to like an Aaron Wiggins on Oklahoma City. I also think like a Kelly Oubre, those kind of guys. Like I think those types of kind of Swiss Army knife wings is what you would be hoping for there, and I think that could be really valuable. So I'm a fairly big fan of his.
So here's something interesting. It was a little over a month ago back on May 21st, I was thinking about how the last several years we've seen guys who are projected top 10 slip out and down into the 20s. You go back 2 years ago, Cam Whitmore. Last year, Isaiah Collier. And I ran a poll on Twitter seeing who people thought that might be this year. I had Derek Queen, Colin Murray Boyles, Noah Senge as options, but the top one people selected was Kaspers Yakachonis. And we are at the 18th pick, and he's still on the board. So that's a really fascinating one. I would love if the Jazz could snag him.
Yeah, I think it's great value. Is there something wrong with him? Is he got like a medical issue? He kind of had an injury during the year, right? Like, or do people just
Yeah, but that was
haters?
towards the start of the year, wasn't it? I don't know.
I can't remember, but I know kind of like Demon though. He kind of has that group out there that just likes to talk crap on him, and they're like, they got all these little nitpicky things, but he is super talented. And by the way, like coming into college, he was widely seen as one of the best international players. So he has that pedigree, and he was like good. Like that's what I'm like. He was good. It's not like he was bad. So I'm like, I don't really know why we're so down on him, but yeah, I mean,
looks like he came
be...
back from injury January 14th.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's like some lingering injury concern or if they're just legit lower on him. But...
Oh man! Wow. Yeah, we got big news here from Shams. Let me snag that.
I thought I heard Utah in my audio, and I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Man, really interesting stuff. So it looks right here. Let's get this to render. Washington is trading Walter Clayton Jr. at number 18 to Utah. I think this is really good. We need someone of his steadying presence here in Utah. Man, we might have just sniped Miami. Pat Riley probably hates Danny Ainge so much right now.
that is so underrated because they hate each other. Like
they hate each other. Oh man, this is probably just grinding Pat's 90-year-old bones.
That is hilarious. I didn't even think about that until you said that. Honestly, you know what's so funny? Like they legit have a problem with each other. It wouldn't even surprise me if Danny did it just to make sure he sniped Pat Riley. That is so funny.
All right, what are they giving up?
That's amazing. Holy cow. How hilarious. I love this. I think this is great.
Hopefully they traded Colin Sexton or something.
I can't imagine they gave up that much to go up 3 spots, but did they give up 21?
That's what I'm wondering, though. Like, did we give up 21?
Because
we were just saying
21 and second-round picks. You don't think they cashed out both second-rounders from tomorrow, do you?
I would.
I can't imagine both of them.
The depth of this draft in that range is terrible. So many guys
You're giving
went
up
back.
41, is it? Sorry, 43 to move up 3 spots? 53 is whatever.
That, to me, I would have done that. That's a no-brainer, in my opinion. The depth in this draft after the first round gets really scary. So many guys went back. Like, there was hardly enough guys to actually do a full draft, to be honest. So.
It did get so sparse after LeBaron Philon went back, and Boogie Fland and all these guys just went back. It got really sparse.
That is really interesting. But you know what? So when we were thinking that Jeremiah Fears might be the guy at 5,
yeah.
I mean, one of the big talking points was we already have all these guards, and we have undersized guards. And, I mean, Walter Clayton Jr. is another guard.
My first thought is, what does this mean for Isaiah and Keontae?
And by the way, like, he's a playmaker. He can run an offense and make some passes, things like that. But he is a scorer and a shooter. Like, he is an elite level shooter. He was personally my favorite person to watch as a shooter. Like, he is so smooth with it, so automatic. Like, I'm not saying he's Steph Curry. He's not Steph Curry. But he has that kind of shooting stroke and just confidence in his shot. And it's just like buttery smooth and how it comes out just like Steph. And it's quick. He's got that kind of quick release, and he can hit it from all over the place. So you match him with a guy like Keontae George and now Ace Bailey. Like you have a lot of guys that are going to want the ball, and are going to want to shoot and score. So, but he is mature. He is an adult. And if you've listened to Tony, the Jazz have needed an adult in the room, both in terms of off court maturity, but also on court maturity and play, and he certainly brings that to the table. So I really like the pick. It's just like, and now I'm like, okay, Colin Sexton and Clarkson are also still around. Like, what is the plan here? What are we doing?
He is not the traditional high school ranked prospect that fell.
Yeah,
Is that the
Transfer.
guy? Is that the guy in the video that was being talked about in the Jazz draft video behind the scenes? You remember that scene? And everybody was trying to figure out who they were talking about. They were like, "Oh, he wasn't some big, big name out of high
Yeah.
school." You remember that scene in that? Maybe
Yeah.
this was
Oh,
the
that's
guy.
interesting. Yeah, maybe so. I am. I thought if they were going to make a move here, it would have been Yakachonis. I'm plenty pleased with Clayton Jr. Although I don't. I think there's a much higher. I think there's a higher floor here with Clayton, but you're not plumbing that ceiling that you could with Yakachonis. So
Yeah.
I mean, for example, I think floor I had for Yakachonis as a deep bench player, but rotation player for Walter Clayton Jr. I mean, I think that's his floor. I think he'll be a rotation player. Worst
Yeah,
case
and,
scenario.
and by the way, so like, again, not to talk more smack on Con Knipple, our favorite person around here, but like everybody kept comparing Con to Jalen Brunson, right? Which never made any freaking sense to me, by the way, and I won't get into that. But
That was wild.
the guy I actually thought reminded me of Jalen Brunson the most in this draft was Walter Clayton Jr., right? Like the pedigree, the winning in college, going to the national championship, like the maturity. Now different players, right? Different styles of play, but Walter Clayton Jr. has that kind of Jalen Brunson presence to him, and I think he's gonna be a pro for a long time now. How high of a ceiling can he get to? Can he be a Jalen Brunson or his version of that, which is probably something like a mini Jamal Murray? I don't know, but I always thought that comparison for him made a lot more sense than to Khan.
Yeah, I
Three
think I
second rounders.
put 3 second rounders. The number 43, and then seconds in 31 and 32. I put T.J. McConnell with a 3-point shot.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
For Walter Clayton Jr., which would be pretty fantastic.
Oh, that would be a home run at this stage of the draft. Yo, and this dude can shoot the leather off the ball. Like he is
He
an
can
elite,
shoot.
elite level shooter. Like again, like Trey Johnson, people talked about him being the best shooter in the draft, and he's an amazing shooter. To me, Walter Clayton Jr. is better. Like he is a really tremendous, high level, elite level shooter. Like special levels of shooting ability.
Yeah. What you're getting from Trey is that he's doing that at what, an 18-year-old, and or a very young 19-year-old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally see what you're saying. Clayton can step in day one. He's gonna be pushing. He's gonna be pushing Collier and Keontae like crazy for minutes. He's
Honestly,
gonna be pushing them to the limit, man.
honestly,
Those guys got to step up.
yeah, like Jazz fans probably don't want to hear this. Maybe some of you do because there's a lot of haters out there. But to me, he might be better than Keontae George right away. Like he's a better shooter, and he's a smarter player. He's more mature on the court and off the court. Like he just might be better than Keontae George on day one. He's not going to score like 20 or 30 points in a game probably, but maybe. But probably not like Keontae can. But he's going to be more efficient. He's going to play a better game, and he's going to bring more maturity to your team than a Keontae George. So, like, if I'm Keontae George, I'm very concerned about this pick. Like, very concerned.
As he should be.
Man, wow, what a
You
what
do
a
wanna
draft
throw
so
out-
far! Incredible.
Cap implications of the trade, so you obviously don't have to take a player and pay him at 43, which is kind of nice. The difference from the 18th and 21st pick is about 400 grand a year. Will probably be just north of 2 million over the course of 4 years, so not a huge
Okay.
deal. A third of a minimum contract. So you get off with there's kind of a roster crunch in Utah, right? They already have 17 players under contract now, players 18 and 19. So some moves are coming. Probably waiving some of the non-guaranteed guys, but you actually end up saving some money with this trade by the time you don't take a player in the second round.
Well, and there are a lot of rumors circulating about John Collins on his way to the East Coast sometime soon. You know, he opted into his player option. Um, does Utah try to get back in here at the 26-27 pick if there's someone they like there?
I would love to get into another pick or two. There's so many good guys.
Weren't you just saying like 2 minutes ago?
Yeah, what
The
is
seconds don't
Brooklyn
matter?
doing?
Wow,
What is
Trey
Brooklyn
Ore,
doing?
really? This is a very confusing draft for Brooklyn. Like let's just recap quick. They took Demon, right, who needs to have the ball in his hands to be effective, right? The best you're going to get out of Demon is that he has the ball in his hands. I could say the exact same thing about Trey Ore.
Yeah, he can't shoot. He's a
And
horrible
they
shooter.
still have Cam Thomas, and they still have D'Angelo Russell. This
Yeah, I know.
this is
Yikes.
curious, very curious.
Yeah,
They
I
might
don't
be
know
the
what
first
they're
team to have 2 G League teams. Just get enough minutes to go around.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that's. I mean, I like Traore. I mean, if you guys remember, he was like expected to be a top 5 pick there for a while.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
yeah, he was.
But then he stopped growing, and then he just could never figure out how to shoot. And
and frankly, played for in a really tough league, a really good St. Quentin team.
when he just
So-
got the hell beat out of his body, because he went to like he played on all the international teams. He was like on the Olympic team or the select team. Like he's not had a break from basketball in a long time, so he's just been worn out. I think in a lot of ways, but yeah, so in a vacuum, him and Demon are a very weird combo of picks in the same draft, and then you add in all these other guys on Brooklyn. It's just like, what is going on? This is like us drafting all these centers when we have Rudy Gobert. It's like, what are we doing?
Really, really strange. And now officially, Kasparis Yakachonis has fallen into the 20s when many had mocked him as high into the top 10. So that's a really interesting development. I'm really curious to hear the intel on Yakachonis on this fall, but
Yeah.
even
Well,
with Walter Clayton Jr., if he's there around these next Brooklyn picks, I would love to snag him. But
Yeah. I legit would love 1 or 2 picks in this range. Drake Powell, Will Riley, Newell. I mean, if you could trade John Collins and turn him into Fleming, like that would be a huge
that
win.
would be amazing. Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna get a first for Collins, sadly, but I mean I would certainly still be trying to get back in here somewhere. Neat Clifford, who just it seemed like there's a lot of love for him around the Jazz circles. I mean, there's Danny Wolf, my guy, Danny Wolf.
Oh, Danny.
Again, a guy who actually is what people think Derek Queen is. All those guys would be pretty interesting options.
Danny Wolf, a bigger George Niang, or not quite as good a shooter, but the passer of Joe Ingles and bigger body. Those are kind of some interesting outcomes potentially.
Yeah, I compared him to Kelly Olynyk, but he's a better ball
okay.
handler than
Yeah.
Kelly Olynyk. So that'd be a fun player.
I mean, we obviously haven't seen him in the league yet, but I would suspect he's probably got a little more. He's a little more prone to quick trigger shoot than Kelly, but
Yeah.
haven't seen him at this league, so who knows?
Look, they're showing the Miami group. They all look very sad and depressed.
Yeah.
They know. They know. Danny got him again. Danny got him again.
Notice Pat Riley wasn't in there. He was trying to get on a phone call to cuss someone out.
Yeah, he's probably throwing chairs out in the hallway. And good riddance. Good riddance.
Amazing. Yeah. So where does Miami go here?
I don't know. I mean,
Well, let's look at the top remaining.
those same guys: Yakachonis, Drake
Yeah.
Powell, Will Riley. I mean, all those guys: Rasheer Fleming, Liam McNeely. I I mean, those are all. Do they go with like a Jace Richardson, a guy that people were surprised didn't get a green room invite? I don't know. Even a Tyrese Proctor. This is probably still too high for him, but he's kind of interesting. Nate Clifford.
One of the
Nate Clifford
interesting-
actually would be a good fit
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
need more talent than people think. Everyone thinks Heat just draft a solid player. They're running out on the talent game after Jimmy Butler leaving and Bam starting to get older and things along that nature.
That's where like
Do
a
you
Drake
guys
Powell would be really
understand
interesting.
this? Hey, yeah, we want Durant, but Hawkes is off the table, and Jovic is off the table. And
Literally
Wait,
everything.
what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
Well, I believe who said it? It was it Bill Simmons or somebody. They were like, Miami was never serious. They just did it to placate their fans. Like
Yeah.
I actually 100% believe that. I 100% believe they just
Yeah, I buy
pretended.
it.
The old Danny Ainge special of we gave it a good try. We were in there, but it just didn't work out.
Okay, so it looks like Yakachonis is going to Miami. Jake Fisher's reporting that he is going to land
Good
with
solid
Miami.
pick. Don't rock.
Who was that guy? Who was the point guard's name? Goran Dragic. Goran Dragic had some years in Miami. Can Yakachonis be the next
Made an
Goran
All-NBA
Dragic?
team.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I
One
had
of the most
kind
random All-NBA players ever.
yeah.
Yeah, I love those guys.
I had kind of been thinking of Goran Dragic as, one of the better outcomes for Ben Saraff. A bigger
Interesting.
Goran Dragic, if things work out for him at the next level.
Yeah,
I
I
think
can
could
see
be
that.
a pretty interesting pathway.
Yeah, great value for Miami. I mean, this is kind of almost like Miami's almost like the Baltimore Ravens. I feel like of the NBA. Like they're
Yeah.
pretty good at value drafting, like the Ravens are. Like this is really good value, and I actually think he fits their team really well. So
Yeah, they've been pretty rudderless from an orchestrator standpoint, and I think he'll bring a lot of those tools and those habits to the court, which will be good for them.
yeah,
I am a little surprised we haven't seen more player trades. That they've largely been pick centered. We haven't seen many trades that involved, the players that Utah had been rumored about.
There was a
for
player
the third
thrown in at
straight
the
year
end
or
of the
something.
29th overall pick trade, but is that the only player we've seen traded? The Mark Williams for
Yeah, I think so.
well, we had some player trades before the draft, right?
Yes.
So some of that happened early. I mean, in some ways though, like I'm actually kind of the opposite. I actually thought we were going to see less player trades just because it's so hard. I feel like it's actually really hard to make player trades now with all the salary cap stuff. Like it's just hard to make the money work and to make it make sense. So now I know like a lot of people think like, oh, that means that more players will get moved because people have to move contracts around. But it just like when I went through and looked at it, like trying to find a landing spot for Colin Sexton, for example, is really hard. Like it's just hard to find a team that can make the money work. So it just, I'm not totally surprised by that. It would have been fun if there was more, but it's hard to make those trades.
So here's another argument for let's cut off opening day at 14
Oh boy,
picks.
mute him, Benjamin. Mute McCade before
You
he
can-
gets going.
You can go to 10 minutes for the first round instead of 5 and actually have time to figure out some of these financial trades, right? Because it's so
Look,
hard
look,
to make
look,
these
look.
trades so fast.
10 minutes?
This is
the
like
NFL does.
okay. This
that
is
was
like
that was crazier. That was crazier than moving it to the next day. 10
10
This is-
minutes
this
for
is like
14
in-
picks?
this is like in the fantasy football leagues and stuff that I'm in, and people are like, we need to do a long draft because we want the time to figure out the trades. And I'm like, yo, you people have like months of time in advance to get those trades figured out. Like, you should be talking for a month ahead of the rookie draft and have some structures in place, and then you can make the decision when the draft happens. But you don't come up with some new idea in the middle of the draft
You
while
are
you're on
correct.
the clock. Like, you
Every
need to get
NBA
that done
team
already.
Has a folder. Every NBA team combination. The Jazz and all 29 other teams have like 10 trades lightly agreed upon at any given second.
That's right.
Let's say
That's
this
right.
works financially. This is on paper a thing, right? Whether it's Laurie for this, whether it's this, every team has 10 trades lined up with every other team ready to roll at all times. If
Yeah,
they feel
it's just like the nuclear standoff. We all have missiles aimed at each other all the time, and it's just any moment now we can hit the button, right? So it's just you got to decide if you want to hit the button. So that's what I'm saying. Like they don't need more time. Like 10 minutes is not going to make any more deals happen than 5 minutes. You could make it 30 minutes, and it's not.
Meanwhile,
gonna
I've
make any
seen Mark
difference.
watch the NFL draft, and he loves the 10 minutes over there.
Oh, dude,
It used to be
Yo,
15.
The draft should be like 30 seconds a pick. To be honest, that's how I would be doing it.
So
Everyone just send in
reminder
their
to everyone
draft boards, and
watching.
then just a software runs it all.
Not
So
even
we're-
that. I think you would actually get a lot of like panic trades because they're like, oh my gosh, like, and you get put on the spot. You got to choose which button to press, and all of a sudden people start doing weird things. I actually think it would lead to more movement. I actually think the more time you have to think about it, like time kills all deals. So if you want more deals, you compress the time variable, and then you get
Well,
more
that was the
deals.
argument for keeping the second round in the day of the draft and not splitting between 2 days. Is that you had the mid 40s, all these front offices are winded after this long draft day and end up with some random trades flowing.
Yeah, 2 minutes for a second round pick is insanely fast. It's an hour-long special.
30
So just
seconds.
a reminder, it says the Jazz are up, but the Jazz traded this pick to move up to 18 for Walton Clayton Jr. So they are making this pick on the behalf of the Washington Wizards, as we have here on our
But
board.
we do get to see a player wear a Jazz hat.
We do.
And we'll have
That's
that
true.
picture forever.
That's what matters. And by the way, so I had Walter Clayton Jr. 20th on my board, so right in the striking distance of where he went and where we got him, and so I
Yeah.
think that's good value. And I kind of made the comp of Jalen Brunson in a lot of ways, but I like the T.J. McConnell comp. I had like Seth Curry plus just because he has kind of that, he's not Steph Curry, he's kind of like dollar store Steph. But he's not as bad as Seth. So I don't know who that is exactly, but yeah, I like that. I'm still really curious what the hell we're doing with all these guards. So
While we have kind of a dead moment, I'd love to wrap back around to the Noah pick to the Bulls at 12. I'd love to get your guys'
Okay.
thoughts. So he's playing over in Germany, right? Did you guys see this?
yes,
So they are in the middle of their finals. They're the 2 seed. They're playing Bayern Munich, the 1 seed. Best of 5. They're up 2-1 with Game 4 at home, and he flew over here to attend the draft instead. He missed Game 4 yesterday. They lost, and I don't think he's planning to go back to play in the championship. Game 5, winner take all tomorrow. And if he does, he'll be crazy jet lagged.
That's
Thoughts?
wild.
Missing the
That is
last 2
wild.
games of the championship series? A little weird, right?
yeah. So let me put it this way: all the concerns about Ace Bailey, I have more of a red flag about what Asenge did than anything Ace Bailey's done. That to me would be a red flag. That would make me
Like, how do you play
uncomfortable.
for a team for 11 and a half months and then have a chance to win the championship at home and be like, nah, guys, I'm out? And I get
Yeah,
it.
peace
He's a
out.
backup point guard. I think they have a couple good players on that team. Devin Booker, maybe? Is Devin Booker on that team? Not Suns Devin Booker, but the other Devin Booker.
I was like,
Trevor's
DEVON.
little
can't
brother.
just stroke out. What is he talking
I
about?
think
Devin
Trevor's
Booker?
little brother from Clemson, right? I think it's Trevor's little brother from in Clemson. Don't quote me on that. But like, I get it. He's a backup guard there. He's a little 18-year-old. It's a big boy man league. I just thought it was interesting that you have guys like Tyrese Halliburton that are tearing Achilles to try and win a championship, and this guy's flying away from it. So
Well, you tackle that onto one of the big gripes people have about some of the foul baiting that he's kind of trying to get away with in the German league. It seems like he's just trying to tailor his game to be the best it can be for the NBA. Ducking
come
out
play
on the
college ball.
championship, doing some foul baiting that frankly, it is ill suited to a European league, but perfectly suited for what has been seem to garner calls here in the NBA. So it is weird. It is weird, and you stack with some other things that have kind of come out of the woodwork on him. I don't know, man. That's curious.
I agree with Mark, though. I mean, the one thing we've heard about Ace Bailey is that guy loves basketball.
Oh yeah.
And in
My-
today's day and age,
yeah.
where height and athleticism and everyone's skilled, and you look at guys, even a big knock on Anthony Edwards coming into the draft was he didn't love basketball. He loved football and baseball more than basketball. Having somebody coming to Utah that just loves basketball, and he claims that's why he didn't work out for anybody. Blah blah blah. He was just focused on improving his game. But if Ace Bailey does love basketball, I think that's always a huge green flag.
Yeah,
Not
and by the
necessary.
way,
but a
like
green
with
flag.
Ace, like go to the Overtime YouTube channel. There's an interview with him and Ron Harper before they played this last season, and Ace Bailey is hilarious. Like he is so personable. He's kind of got that energetic, almost like bubbly personality that Donovan Mitchell had. To be honest, that's kind of who it reminded me of, like the
Had or has.
young, happy Donovan Mitchell. When he was just like a young kid that was just happy to play ball. That's what Ace Bailey reminded me of. And by the way, pick is in Will Riley. I actually would have loved Will Riley for the Jazz at this spot, so that's kind of interesting.
Loving it for Washington. Their draft is awesome so far.
Yeah,
Trey Johnson and now Will Riley.
I really sadly like what Washington. For some reason I hate Washington. Like I just dislike them. Maybe it's recency bias because I made that tweet that they should be fined for trying to manipulate the draft last year with Alex Sarr and then this year with Ace Bailey, and that's worse than what the Jazz did trying to tank, right? And so, and all their fans got all up in my mentions, and so now I'm like anti-Washington or something. But I do like this pick a lot, and they have a lot of like good kind of young wings. Like they're kind of doing what I was saying we should do, which is you just take swings on young wings that have talent. They did that. What was it last year with what's his bucket from Miami, who I actually didn't really like, Kaishan George or whoever that guy was. He actually ended up being decent.
Than we thought,
Yeah, so like that's an L for me. But like again, like a taller kind of wing guy with some skill that can shoot, and like those guys are valuable and they tend to work out, right? And if they do, it's super helpful. So I kind of like their strategy that they're taking here, where they're just continuing to stack those kind of guys up.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
But enough of Washington. Screw Washington. Let's get back to Ace Bailey, our guy,
Yeah,
the man, the answer, the solution, whatever we're calling him. We got to come up with a
Ace
nickname,
is the
McCade.
place.
So
Ace is the place.
I was just running through a thought in my mind that I want to share here with Ace Bailey. We often want the luck to go our way on lottery night for obvious reasons. It is way more important for a franchise to get lucky on draft night than it is on lottery night. You want the number 1 overall pick because Cooper Flag's freaking awesome. But if the options are get the number 3 overall pick or let Ace Bailey fall to you at 5, you take Ace Bailey at 5, you save a few bucks. If the odds are get lucky and draft a hidden superstar in Donovan Mitchell or John Stockton or Karl Malone or Rudy Gobert, or draft a bust at 5 or 6, you take the hidden superstar. Getting lucky on draft night, way more important than getting lucky on lottery night. And the Jazz, I think, stroked into some of that tonight. We'll see what happens in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But I'd rather be lucky tonight than on lottery night.
You know, I hate to say it, but McCade just made a great point.
Do you want the meme? The guy I hate made a good point thing. Like,
No, I think you're totally right, though. Like, if you really think about it, that makes sense, right? Like, you can find the superstar players really anywhere in the draft. It happens all the time. And so you'd rather get lucky picking the right guy at some arbitrary number of pick in the draft than, necessarily being in the top 4 and potentially drafting the wrong guy, right? So yeah, I agree with your logic there, Sir McCade.
So another thing kind of on Ace that, there was just tons and tons and tons of noise about didn't want to go to Utah, and they were angling towards some East Coast teams. He wasn't working out for select teams, et cetera, et cetera. But every single reporter who kept trying to get him to say something about Utah, he always circled it right back to, hey, I just want to play ball. I just want to be as best as I can be. And that gave me the impression like, hey, wherever he lands, he's going to make the most of. And what he really wants, even despite having a preference, and clearly there's a strong preference from his camp, his representation, mentors, family maybe. In spite of all that, what he really wants is to land somewhere that has a pathway to stardom. You're right, to where he will get the opportunities and the development to become a star. And I just believe he's going to get that in Utah. And this is gonna work out over his rookie year, right? If he turns into a star and later down the line, who knows what kind of happens, but I think this is gonna work out over his rookie year. I think he's gonna be ultimately pleased with where he landed, and I think the Jazz are gonna be pleased having taken him.
I appreciate you taking the optimistic interpretation of that because I took the complete opposite interpretation where to me it sounded like that's what his agent told him is, hey, don't shit talk Utah. If anybody asks you, just turn it around and say, kind of don't answer the question. Just refocus it on, hey, I just want to play ball.
I am sure
but
that's what his
secretly,
agent told him. I am sure that's what his agent told him.
Yeah,
But I think that's more aligns with his personality than I only want to play in Brooklyn or Washington. I don't
Yeah.
think that's Ace's true
So-
personality. I think his true
Well,
personality is
I
I'll hoop it wherever.
Yeah. I
type
guess
thing.
it depends on what you mean by that. Like, I agree with the statement that he will hoop wherever because he's a hooper. Now, is he going to be happy about doing that in Utah? I don't think that's the case, and he certainly would have preferred to not do it in Utah. I would imagine. Although Mark Spears tweeted out about an hour ago, he said new Jazz draft pick Ace Bailey said he was excited to go to Utah. Had no idea they were interested in him, which is just
Okay.
completely a lie.
Is there any
Yeah.
team in the NBA not interested in him?
Yeah, I was like, okay, Ace, right? Oh, I had no idea they were okay. Give me a break. And then he said he had never been out there, so that confirms he didn't actually come out for a secret workout. So I guess that
Yeah.
part wasn't true.
That's like the
Um,
prom king asking the prom queen to prom and being like, I can't believe she said yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I had no idea. Wow, really? Like, but at least he's saying the right things now, right? I mean, I think his reaction, like I said before the pick was announced, they showed him like, well, judging by how he's looking, like it for sure he's the pick, right? And so I don't think he's necessarily happy to be here. Unlike Donovan, who I think legitimately was happy to come to Utah.
Yeah.
When we picked him, like that is very different. But my hope
Yeah, we'd
is
want a playoff series, not 17 games.
yeah, but like part of my hope is like Isaiah Collier, like we talked about him being the number one guy in the country coming out. We drafted him here, and he's had a good time here. I'm imagining, right? And so I'm hoping guys like Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Filipowski, again, hopefully Dwayne Wade remembers he's an owner of this freaking team and can call him up. You get Richard Jefferson, who has always had nice things to say. Don't call Joe Johnson because Joe Johnson clearly hated his time here. But you get some of those guys. You get Darren Williams, who obviously loves it here and is still around. You get Carlos Boozer. Yeah, like you get those guys telling him. And I think over time, especially once he sees the opportunity, the staff, the facilities, he gets to know ownership with Ryan Smith. My hope is he improves that attitude and really embraces it, and I think he will. Because at the end of the day, like you're saying, Adam, he's a hooper. He wants to hoop, and this is a good place to hoop, and I think they can convince him of that.
Yeah, it will definitely be retrospective, right? By the end of the rookie contract, I think he'll look back and be like, "Oh yeah, this was a great place for me to have landed. I'm glad I landed here." But certainly, he does have some preferences, and I don't. Yeah, he's probably not ecstatic over the moon right now, but I think both
Yeah.
sides will look back favorably on him landing in Utah.
And
when all
by
is
the
said
way,
and
so
done.
some of the talk was, New Orleans and Washington, but also Brooklyn was kind of some of the talk that he wanted to find a way to get to Brooklyn. No better person to tell him about the dangers of thinking the grass is greener in Brooklyn than Mr. Darren Williams, right?
Indeed.
So,
Indeed.
I would be having Darren he gets off the plane and Darren Williams is right there and you're like, okay, here's your mentor and here's your guide through Utah. And I would be telling Darren, yo, you better let Ace know that this is the place. You don't want to. You got to put Brooklyn. You got to put these other places out of your mind. And if you make the most of it here, like you're gonna one have a ton of success, and also two, you're just gonna be an absolute freaking legend that will be remembered forever and appreciated by the fans for forever. And you're not gonna get that everywhere else. I mean, look at how Darren's been treated by the fans of these other places. They hate that guy. But Utah, even after everything that happened, this is the guy that made Jerry Sloan retire, right? That's Darren Williams. Even after all of that, that's like almost an unforgivable sin, what he did to Jerry, right? The legend. And we still love him.
Darren's
like,
still our guy. Yep.
Yeah, he's still our guy, right? So, like, if I'm Darren, I'm totally, like, and ownership, I'm getting those two guys together. I'm like, yo, Darren, you got to be here with this kid and help him get integrated to the franchise and to the state, you know? And I think
I'm not a Donovan guy, but even Donovan still has crazy fans here, right? You come and you give 5, 6, 7 good years on and off the court to Utah, and you will be loved forever.
Yeah, just don't let him talk to Darren, to Donovan, because Donovan will totally tell him to get out of there. But, you know, but I agree. I'm still a Donovan guy.
Yeah,
He's
see.
still my guy.
So can we move this conversation forward a little bit and talk on the court stuff, tiny bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a pick to announce. Drake Powell, my guy, he went to Atlanta. Atlanta continues to kill it. But yes, go ahead, McCade.
Oh, actually, to Brooklyn. This is
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Was it Brooklyn?
Right?
Oh, sorry. Well, okay, Brooklyn finally
they
made a
made
good
their
pick.
first good pick. Jeez.
Okay, Brooklyn made a good pick. Sorry, McCade, go for it.
No, you're totally good. So I'm firm believer right now that Ace Bailey is by far the most likely person in the world to be the best player on the next Jazz team that wins a playoff series, right?
Oh, no doubt.
Like 100%. The Jazz have got to do everything they can to set him up for success. Again, if he flops out of the league in 4 or 5 years and it's just a total bust, I'm okay with that. I want to make sure we give him the full opportunity to be the All-NBA player we're hoping he becomes. How do the Jazz do that? Is that with or without Lauri Markkanen? Is that with or without Keontae George? Like, starting right now for the first time in 3 years, I feel like we have somebody to build around. How do we build around him to make sure that if he fails, it's because he wasn't good enough, not because the Jazz were the Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards of the world?
Yeah, great question. What do you think, Adam? You want to take that one first?
How do we make his time on the court the most productive and enriching? Is that a good way to distill?
Yeah, well, like how do we build around him, right? So like for me, maybe I'll ask you, Adam, like who on the current roster as of right now, including all the guys in these rumors, right? With the current roster right now, who are the guys that don't fit with Ace Bailey? Do we have guys that actively don't fit with him that we need to clear out of the way, or not a good pairing with him? Like, are there anybody? Like, is there? Because I actually think that's an easier question to answer than who fits next to him. I actually think it's easier to say who doesn't fit next to him.
Yeah, good question. So, I don't like Clarkson alongside Ace right now. I think there's some on-court bad habits that would be accentuated with Jordan Clarkson, being his running mate on the court. Whereas I think if we get him off, I think it's easier to hammer home the better habits. Right, Ace can be a bit of a black hole, and I think you want to surround him with examples of not being a black hole, right? And tease out some of his vision and his willingness to pass and trust in his teammates. So that's one, I would say. But I think a good player to keep around him is frankly a Walker Kessler type. I think his instincts on the defensive end and setting an example that way would be great because, frankly, the best version of Ace Bailey, we tease out those instincts and we get him to buy in on that end. And I think having a front court presence there, I think that is a solid way for him to understand the importance of that end and really tease out his skills on that end. So those are probably the two things I'd say. I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah, well, I think that's interesting. So, like, one, I agree with you. Like, Jordan Clarkson's got to go. I mean, but that's been true for a while, and I
Can
feel
they even get it done though?
I think they should buy him out, to be honest. And here's why. Like, I love
Yeah.
Clarkson. He'll always have a special place in my heart, whether it's for a special place of hatred or love. I won't say, but what my thing is, like, Clarkson. I totally agree in terms of like the shot selection, like all that stuff, all the on court stuff. But I actually think like Clarkson, the off court immaturity that Clarkson brings, if I'm allowed to say that and talk about that, I don't really want that kind of a veteran with that kind of presence around Ace. Although, in fairness to Jordan, like he loves Utah. Like Clarkson has
He
embraced
does.
Utah, and
He
like that
does.
could really help. But Clarkson is a little bit of a goofy guy, and like likes to. He's a little bit immature off the court. Like he's not getting in trouble. I'm not trying to say any of that, but like Ace is a little bit like, yo, I want you to be more like an adult. Like I want you to be more like Anthony Edwards, or like I want you to be a killer and like a leader and like get that kind of edge to you. And Clarkson's more like, yo, I'm just here to have a good time and hoop. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to just have a good time and hoop. I want you to hoop and win us some games and like bring a championship and like lead this team to the promised land, and
Yeah.
and so I don't know if like a Clarkson is that kind of veteran that I want around him. Like, I would love to still do that deal where you do like a Colin Sexton and a John Collins to Milwaukee for like a Damian Lillard. Like, I
Mm.
want a guy like that
You want
in
to
the
talk
locker
about an
room with
adult in the
Ace.
room? Yeah.
Yeah, like
Seriously.
that's the kind of guy I want. That's the kind of model that I want to have around Ace. And frankly, we just don't really have that on the roster right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, we don't have the intersection of a stellar character, work ethic, and killer instinct that can be instilled into someone, or not instilled, because I think Ace has that instinct, but nurtured, I should say.
Yeah, well, and like frankly, just the credibility. Like none of these guys on our team
Yeah.
have won anything. Like we have not done anything, right? Like, and as good as Laurie Markkinen is, like he's not really the guy to have that conversation with him
He's
either.
never played in a playoff
No.
game. At
Yeah,
20
like
years old.
he's not done that. So like we need somebody in the room. Like even if it's like a PJ Tucker type, like an older vet who's kind of been there as a role player. Like or even like a Kelly Olynyk. Like you need somebody like that can be in that room and help.
Why do you think
mentor
Washington
him.
just traded for Olynyk and CJ McCollum?
Yeah, CJ was partners with Dame for some deep runs next to a guy making a lot of difficult shots at the most important moments.
So, a couple
Yeah.
notes. One, I like the idea to trade for Damian Lillard. Two, Mark, fantastic idea. Clarkson only makes 14 million. He's an expiring. If his value really is so low, you can't trade him. The Jazz are in a position just to cut him and eat that cap, right? They've
Yeah.
done it with Russell Westbrook twice. They've done it with plenty of other players last few years. An expiring contract you can eat pretty darn easily.
Yeah, and just get it over with.
And just
Like
get it
stop
over
messing
with.
around. Just get it over with.
I woke up this morning very much on the pro trade Laurie Markkinen bandwagon. I just didn't think he makes a lot of sense in the short term or long term. I don't think he's going to be close to good enough or close to long enough to matter. I think Markkinen is a great type of player, borderline all-star, top 50 player in the league to put next to Ace Bailey in the short term. I think you want Ace Bailey playing with good players like Colin Sexton and Markkinen and Walker Kessler as much as you can within reason. And so Markkinen, somebody who can't create his own shot, is a great person to play off of Ace Bailey trying to become a superstar. Where if Ace Bailey makes a late pass to a corner, Markkinen's still a guy that can knock down a tough corner contested three and play at a near all-star level. So I am kind of reversing my opinions on that throughout this
Interesting.
broadcast tonight, that I think you keep Markkinen around for the year or two just as you got to have top hunter talent to try and train these guys up. And the Jazz
Ace
don't
is-
have a lot of
Yeah,
that.
that's interesting.
Well, and Ace is going to want to tease out some of his, or feel out some of his abilities as a creator, especially kind of in the mid-range here in his first year, right? See what he can and can't get away with, see what he has to develop, what's kind of coming naturally against this next level of competition. And I think, a Lowry Markkinen type, cutting off ball like he does, that's a great release valve. in those high pressure situations when Ace kind of bites off a little more than he can chew, in one possession, to dump that to a cutting Markkanen for, frankly, a really, really high percentage look. I think he'll miss him on several occasions, and Lowry will be like, man, that's a dunk for me. That's just a winning play. And it's pretty easy for you to make that. I think that's some good learning experiences.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here. Lauri Markkanen did not have a great season this last year.
Yep.
And one of the main reasons why is because he was put in that role you're talking about. He was kind of put over in the corner, kind of told to stand there and catch the ball and shoot when he can, and trying to make some off ball cuts. And he really wasn't involved that much, right? And he was a very expensive go sit in the corner guy for the Jazz this last year. And my worry is that Ace is going to make that worse, not better, right? So I actually think I'm doing the opposite of McCade. I think I was kind of like, okay, we can keep Lauri. We'll see what happens in the draft. Hopefully he rehabs his value. But like, if we end up needing to keep him, that's cool. I'm kind of now like, I hope what we can do is rehab Lauri's value and then trade him as soon as possible, and then use the value that we get to go try and repurpose the roster a little bit better around Ace Bailey. Not saying that I don't agree with the idea of putting an off-ball shooter and cutter there for him, but it can't be Lauri Markkanen at that number. Like, you can go get that at a much lower number and then go redeploy your assets somewhere else. So that's kind of my take on it. And then while I'm on the subject, like, I actually don't know if Walker Kessler is a good fit, because Kessler's going to clog up the paint, and I think you want to play more 5 out, because one of the things with Bailey is he's going to get to the bucket.
They played him 5 out last year towards the end of the season. They were
really
trying
well,
to take.
yeah. I mean, that was nice. The stealth tank move, let him go shoot a bunch of threes, right?
Still
but like,
let's let Walker Kessler shoot.
But like, I think you want to clear the paint for him, and this is kind of why I didn't like Gobert with Anthony Edwards initially, right? But then they kind of constructed that roster and made it work in a weird way. But like, part of my gripe with that was like, you don't want to clog the paint for Anthony Edwards. Like, you want to clear the way. And so I kind of feel the same way with Ace. Like, I don't know if Kessler and Lauri with Ace is a great kind of core to build around. I think I may want to try and reshuffle that at some point.
Well, I do think you probably reshuffle at some point. You probably need to tease out just how ready Ace is, how fast, how much he can do, how quickly, that sort of thing. And I think the types of players we've talked about, Lowry, Kessler, Collin, I actually think those guys are in a fairly good spot to help tease out some of that and allow him to kind of experiment, see where he's ready, where he's lacking. Before we kind of continue, trade, the Sacramento Kings traded into the 24th pick to take Nick Clifford. This was previously owned by Oklahoma City. Don't know what is going to Oklahoma City yet, but that's kind of an interesting development.
One other thing I want to note about trade is the Jazz trade was announced by Adam Silver. There's no players involved, right? It's draft rights of Clayton, Riley, and then a couple picks. So that will be finalized tonight. You'll probably see the Jazz social media accounts be able to talk about it, and we'll be able to move on forward without any of the awkward, I can't play in summer league and that type of thing. That trade.
Oh, that's the worst.
I hate that.
So that is a good news that there was no players involved in that trade, so there's no reason they can't do that tonight. As I said, Adam Silver already mentioned it. Sorry, Mark, you were saying something about the Clifford pick and the Kings in that trade?
Oh no, I just like that fit. Like I mean, honestly, it kind of seems like a very Kings pick for some reason, but I like that pick. They kind of need a guy like him. They've kind of struggled to figure out kind of their guard rotation, especially after dumping, sore spot Halliburton, and now Fox, the guy they picked over Halliburton. Oh no, poor Kings fans. But Clifford, he kind of, again, like he can play that guard kind of wing spot. Another adult to have in the room, can do a little bit of everything. I don't know. I kind of like that. I kind of like that fit for him.
Yeah, I think it's good. It'll be a good wing player, next to the other wing that they have there. They picked a couple seasons ago. I think it was their sixth pick that they had, the kid from Iowa. Blanking on his name right now, but the Kings are in a really, really strange spot with guys they're committed to with big money, and the previous Kings defining players in Halliburton and Fox, having moved on. They're in
Hey, should the
they're in an
Jazz go
awkward
get
spot.
Sabonis? Go,
No.
You talk about
go-
clogging the lane and holding the ball.
Hey, look, jumbo lineup. Think about it. Jumbo
I'm
lineup.
thinking.
Ace Bailey is your shooting guard. Laurie Markkinen is your 3. Sabonis is your 4. Kessler's your 5. You're like jumbo lineup, right?
You want Ace to be your
Galaxy-
one long term?
I was going to say Galaxy Brain, tanking us to the worst record in the league. That's a way to do it on the defensive end. That's for sure.
How about this? Would you rather trade for Sabonis or bring back John Collins for another year?
I'd probably just pay John Collins another year.
Yeah, man, I want the money off the books, and
Okay, fair enough.
we're trying to win a championship.
John actually had a
not
pretty
playing
decent
game.
year last year.
He had a really good year last
I'd
year.
I'd be surprised if he's still on the roster. Quite frankly, I think.
Well, like
find
weirdly, like this, but this is kind of what I was saying about Laurie earlier. Like John Collins kind of played the same role that Laurie Markkinen played last year, and like I actually think at points in the year Collins is better than Laurie at that role. Like he just was better. He had a good year last year, and Laurie didn't. And like you could trade Laurie and just keep Collins and play Collins in that role, and then you reset. But at any rate, it's interesting. By the way, I also think Keontae George is a horrendous fit with Ace Bailey. I think Isaiah
the point guard
Collier.
situation's weird.
I think Isaiah Collier and Filipowski are amazing fits, but
Collier's got to learn to shoot, man. It's that simple.
But the passing, like somebody on this
passing
roster
was-
has to pass and move the
Yep.
ball and run the offense, and I think Collier, especially if Ace can continue to build on that off-ball cutting, like he's going to be lethal.
I'm
Well, we'll
huge
really
Collier
rely
fan.
on.
Huge Collier guy.
Yeah.
But
We're gonna really rely on Walter Clayton to be a passing force in his rookie year. Quite frankly, like that's the skill I think where he could really stand out.
Yeah,
And then make
that's
open
asking a
shots on
lot.
top of
He can run an offense and pass a little bit, but I wouldn't call him like an offensive.
He's not an
you know,
organizer.
Yeah, he's not the guy that like really. He's just more of a scorer and a shooter.
yeah,
guy,
but if he
so-
can make the extra pass and just knock down some open shots for Ace on the edge, I think that's all you really need, right?
Well, yeah.
yeah,
because
I like him for that role.
Space the floor and make a good pass, make the right pass, make the smart pass.
When I love the idea of him off the bench. Like I love him as like a 6-man.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever really going to be a starter unless he just goes absolutely bananas and has some sort of Jalen Brunson ascension, which is just not very likely,
And
right?
as
But
I say, any of these players can be busts. Any of them can be Hall of Famers. Variance is wider than we often talk about.
So true.
Yeah.
That's why I like to kind of think about 25th percentile outcome to 75th.
Yeah.
Because those long tails are literally
Even
so
90th
extreme.
is an all-star for all these guys. Like, it's not this 99th percentile thing. It's a 90th percentile thing to be an all-star. And what are the thoughts on Will Hardy, and what conversations are going on with the Jazz right now behind the scenes where, what is Austin and Danny's perspective versus Will Hardy's? We've seen front offices get ripped apart here in Utah and Denver and elsewhere when coaches and front offices aren't on the same page about players. Are we confident? Do we think that Austin and Danny want him to be a superstar the next couple of years? And is Will Hardy willing to play that game?
I
Well,
think they're
first of
sending the
all,
message
yeah.
that, hey, Will, you've got to develop this kid. Like, not your G League staff, not your your end of the coaching staff film guys. Like, you have to take an active role in games, in practices to develop this kid.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's way more likely that we fire our coaching staff before we fire our front office staff, right? And so I think what they're gonna do is exactly that. They're gonna say, "Look, coaches, he's super talented. We took him in the top 5. You got to make this work. If you don't, you're out of here." And by the way, like
As it
our
should
coaching staff has kind of just been let off the hook for these last several years. Like it's at some point we got to be like, look, you guys actually got to like do something. You got to produce some results. Like,
Yeah, Will
you
Hardy
know.
was honestly probably pissed VJ went 3.
Oh yeah,
He was.
yeah.
He was that's a Will Hardy guy right there.
Yeah, I thought, I didn't have anybody necessarily tell me this, but just listening to them talk about what they're looking for in a player, it was like, oh, this is VJ Edgecombe. Like,
Yes.
that's exactly who they want, and he would be great. And funny, like, I kind of always comped VJ Edgecombe's ultimate ceiling to Dwayne Wade, right? Like, there's a non-zero chance that he has that ceiling outcome, and you have the Dwayne Wade connection here in Utah. So I was like, you could just see how that all would make sense. And I actually thought that they were going to move up to number 3 to try and get VJ. But yeah, like, just kind of back to our point. Yeah, I think the pressure's on the coaching staff to make this work, and I 100% think that the front office and the franchise does expect him to be a superstar. Like, you wouldn't stay at number 5 and pick him if you didn't think that. If you didn't think that, you would have traded it or done something different or taken somebody else, right?
Adam, do you mind if I interrupt and talk about a trade real quick?
Yeah.
So this is a little fun one. The Utah Mammoth have just traded for J.J. Peterka, who scored 70 points for the Buffalo Sabres last year, and it will come over and be one of the top 7 or 8, 9 forwards for the Utah Mammoth next year. So we got both sports rolling today, getting better
Interesting.
as hockey takes another step forward in their playoff push.
Would
So on the
they
side.
give up for him?
Right.
I haven't seen anything. It looks like the deal's still being negotiated a tiny bit before it gets a little bit more public.
They
But
better not have given up number 4.
Yeah. Like.
so that
Yeah.
draft is Friday night. I can't imagine. He's not that good. He's a 23-year-old German kid. He's not going for number 4 overall. But 68 points last year in 77 games. As we try and build 2 championship contenders here in Utah now.
That's
Yo,
right.
Yeah, shout out to the Mammoth. They're like legit.
They're on their way.
They got that 4th pick on Friday.
They're like, we're gonna be the Oklahoma City Thunder of the NHL here pretty soon. They're
Are we doing
freaking
the
loaded.
4 hours on Friday night, Adam?
I'll definitely be tuning in, but my hockey knowledge is
Not quite there yet. I'm
still
right there.
leagues behind my still fairly incompetent basketball knowledge.
You want to trade up for Misa? That's all you need to know. We want to
That
trade up
is
for
true.
Misa.
That is true.
Amazing. On the Nick Clifford announcement, before I knew that Oklahoma City had moved it to Sacramento, I got to thinking, oh man, is this budget Aaron Wiggins, right? When Aaron Wiggins starts to starts to near the end of his pretty nice contract here in 2 years, could this be budget Aaron Wiggins for them?
Side
But
note to that,
say
spin
la
off
vie.
of that, Aaron Wiggins is a guy that when he is a free agent, we should go get him. I really like Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
a good player.
So it looks like Brooklyn is picking now. Oh, technically this is
Sarah.
the. Oh, I think I'm behind. We've been just engrossed in our picks. So Jace Richardson went 25 to Orlando, and then Brooklyn here takes Ben Saraf, another ball dominant guard for Brooklyn. So this is so
They
curious.
are going to take on 5 picks.
I think
Wait,
they
wait,
are.
wait. Brooklyn picked. This is just now connecting.
They got
Brooklyn
Demon.
picked- What are they doing?
They got Traore. They got Powell. That was the first one I liked. And now they got Saraf.
I just
Well,
want to
but by the way, Powell is a guard, so he's a shooting
Yeah,
guard. So.
yeah, yes.
Can we start off
But
five
like,
together?
but like
No,
Ben,
they're all
Igor, Ben Yegor, and Nolan, they're gonna want the ball. They're gonna be wanting to, initiate.
Well, the funny thing is, Saraf can't shoot either. Like, most of those guys can't shoot. Yeah, I don't. Brooklyn, I don't know what they are doing. That is
Yeah,
a
this
very.
is extremely curious. Next you're going to tell me they draft Tyrese Proctor at 27.
They might actually. There's still a few guards out there.
They have
That is
Rasheer Fleming, Danny Wolf. Those
McNeely's
are
still on the board, isn't he?
McNeely still on the
Yeah, I should
board.
go get McNeely. That's a guy I want around Ace.
Yeah, actually, low key, he'd be great.
That's a guy who's played off Cooper Flag before.
Yeah.
That's a guy who just I think is going to be a really, really good shooter in the NBA. I know his college numbers weren't great, but a guy who can jack up a ton of threes, make a ton of them, which I really think he'll do in the NBA. That's
We
the
need
role
to.
player I want.
We need to go get Danny Wolf. They just showed him. He's like on the verge of tears. He just saw Ben Saroff, countryman from Israel. He's like, yo, this guy sucks. Why am I not getting picked? We should go get Danny Wolf.
Well, he's about to be his teammate in 20 seconds, so.
He might be. He might be. He
Um,
might be. But Danny can play. Danny, they're doing you dirty, Danny. You need to come to the Jazz. This is the Kyle Filipowski thing all over again. You should have gone a lot sooner. Nobody loves you but the Jazz. We'll take good care of you. You need to come over here. Be our center of the future. We're talking about a stretch five, right? That can play along Ace. He can make the pass to Ace when he's cutting. Danny would actually. Now that I'm talking about it, like this is not even a joke. Danny would actually be a great fit. We gotta go get Danny Wolf. He's the
Mark,
the
these guys
answer.
are all 80% busts.
No, Danny's not
he'd be,
though.
he'd be a
Danny's
good,
Danny's
he'd
one
be a
of the
good fit
20.
on offense. Defensively, right? If we're
Look,
we're running him a lot.
We're running it back like the Darren Williams era. Defense doesn't matter. Offense wins games.
They were good
Who cares?
defensively.
We're gonna outscore everybody. Yo, that would be so sick. Danny spacing the floor next to Ace Bailey, Walter Clayton Jr. Oh, that would be amazing. We
We're
gotta
an
go
Ohio
get Danny.
State team with Bryce Sensabaugh, Mike Conley, and Micah Potter. We're an Ohio State team. We don't need none of those
Okay,
team
but
timers
Potter,
out there.
Potter, they're not bringing back. They're
Yeah,
not bringing
Conley's been
back.
gone for a while.
Yeah.
But Bryce Sensabaugh.
Yo, no, we really should go get it. That would be so sick.
I
That'd be
mean,
amazing.
it would be tremendously fun. Don't get
Dude,
me
our
wrong.
summer league team would be outrageous if you had Danny Wolf, Ace Bailey, and Walter Clayton Jr.
Hey, the Jazz are so far from an NBA Cup and an NBA championship. We might as well win Summer League.
Oh, we'd have Isaiah Collier and Filipowski there. Oh, dude, we
We
would.
should go
That
for
would be
it.
an
All out to win Summer
all-timer.
League.
That would be an
Mark,
all-timer summer
If
league.
Utah makes the Summer League championship, you and I are driving down that morning.
Oh, dude, I'm so down. I'm
That'd be
Adam, you
committed.
can come with us if you want. I want to wrap up a conversation from earlier in the night. Is Ace Bailey the most talented player the Jazz have drafted in the last 40 years?
I think him and
Probably.
Donovan Mitchell
Donovan
are
was a
really...
mid-teens pick, man. Don't
No,
give
no,
me
no,
that.
but you got to forget about, like, just talent-wise. If you're
but
just
but
talking
talent,
talent.
at the
Him and
point in the
Darren.
draft, like when you draft them, is that what we're
Yeah, it's
talking
him and
about?
Darren.
Because Donovan, it was the activity, it was the measurables that got you excited, and his personality. There goes Danny.
You called it. You called it. He's his teammate.
There goes
Traded
Danny.
to the Jazz. Traded to the Jazz for John Collins or something stupid.
Yeah, come on. John Collins.
They
is
are
in
the
his
team that can
27.
absorb John, and there have been East Coast rumors related to John.
Dude, I love Danny Wolf. I love Danny. He's gonna prove some people wrong. Talk about a guy that's got all-star upside that fell too
Could
far.
you imagine being a first-round pick and knowing you were the 5th player taken by a team?
So apparently that's an NBA record.
Is
Five
it?
Yeah, would you
first-round
want to be that
selections.
guy though?
No.
You're walking in 5th in line to the door to the press conference tomorrow.
Look, McCade. At this point, you wouldn't care. You became a millionaire. Like you don't care.
Did you know? What's the guaranteed on the 27th pick?
Pretty sure.
It is
Did he not
millions.
get over $1 million NIL
Oh.
at Michigan? Like,
Oh, I'm
Probably.
sure he did. So that's fair. He's already a millionaire.
$14.3 million if you make it all 4 years.
He just
Guaranteed
doubled
off
his
the
net
bat
worth.
is $5.7 million. 27th pick.
I look. We gotta watch the Danny Wolf highlight package when they run it here. Hopefully
He
they
won't be
do
as
because
good as Rudy Gobert and Pascal Siakam though.
his highlight package is outrageous. So.
While you watch that, let me know. Is Ace Bailey the most talented Jazz draft pick of the last 40 years, or is it Darren Williams?
it's so curious because kind of going back to my earlier point, I think Ace is uniquely suited to this era and what people want from this era, just as Darren was uniquely suited to the era of kind of what you wanted in an organizer and a big guard.
Because we agree it's not Canner or Exum, right?
I think we could safely say that, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean, Exum had the athleticism, but he didn't have the talent. And Canner, ironically, had the talent, but he didn't have the athleticism. And you want to talk about eras. Canner was fantastic. He was just 5 years too late, 10 years too late.
Well, wait, what was Darren Williams' high school ranking coming out?
Oof, I don't know.
I feel like I'm looking at his class and I don't see him. Like was he ranked on according to ESPN recruiting, he was ranked 100.
He was 48th in 2002. Behind Amari Stoudemire, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh.
Yeah, you know who was ranked higher than him? Like by a lot.
Jack, Brandon Roy.
It was somebody on his team, somebody on Illinois.
D Brown was 19th, yeah.
D Brown, yeah. The legend.
That was the year
Brown.
JJ Redick was 11.
Yeah. Yeah, the list I'm showing that's slightly different but similar range had Melo number 1, some guy named Lenny Cook. I have no idea who the hell that is. Amari Stoudemire was number 3, Raymond Felton number 4, Paul Davis number 5, Antonio Wright, D'Angelo Collins, Evan Burns, man, Marshall Strickland, Hassan Adams, Rashad McCants. Chris Bosh was 13th according to this. Ike Diago 25. Francisco Garcia, the legend, 29. Jared Jack, 32. JJ Redick on here was 37. Brandon Roy showing 36 on here. So, like, Darren wasn't even really that highly touted. In college.
He was 38, 56, 54, 50 of the 4 I'm looking at. And, I mean, he killed it that year in college. They went to the championship.
Yeah,
had a heartbreaking loss. I mean, he was awesome. There's a reason the Jazz fell in the lottery, went back up and got him.
Yeah.
I'm officially voting that Ace is more talented.
I think Ace
I think I'm there.
Maybe Daryl Griffith back in the 80.
I mean, but think about it. Ace played on the junior Team USA. He was a McDonald's All-American and was like one of the guys. Like he wasn't just like one of the okay, cute, you made the McDonald's All-American, but you're really not on the same level, right? He was like one of the guys. He was in talks to be in contention for the number 1 pick with Cooper Flagg, and certainly a top 3 pick with Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg, right?
He was a top 3 pick 6 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was just going to say, literally just the last couple weeks.
Lottery night, we wanted to stay top 3 was the goal on lottery night.
Like last year very obviously would have been the number 1 pick over Ricochet, right? So I think there's a pretty strong argument that he is the most talented player coming out, right? Like we'll see how he does, but in terms of pedigree, in terms of the accolades coming into the league, and again the raw talent, the tools, the athleticism, the skill set, I think you got to say is he the number 1? Karl Malone, maybe, like, right?
Malone
even
was
though
a mid-teens pick.
Yeah, but Malone dropped, right? Didn't he drop that year? Like he.
Yeah, but not. I mean, he didn't drop from number 1 or number 2.
True, but he also was like a problem. Like he was really good.
He was really good. All right, are we at the point of the night where we can talk conspiracy theories a little bit?
Well, let's just update on the board. We got Hugo Gonzalez going to the Celtics at 28.
By the way, I was horrified that all the mock drafts had us taking him at 21. I am not a fan of his, like, at all.
Let's see where I had him ranked. I think it was... Let's see here. I think I had him 28-ish.
Yeah, I had him at 40. I don't get it with him. I know there's kind of like some history there and whatever, but I don't know. No production. He struggles to shoot. He's not a good ball handler. Defense is overrated. He's a little bit undersized. I just never understood it with him. So,
Okay, you were talking conspiracy theories, McCade.
If the
What are
Jazz
we?
come out and struggle this year and they finish with, post lottery third, fourth, fifth, sixth pick, do we think that there's enough going on behind the scenes that they can finagle their way with draft assets and personalities in a good way to get AJ or Boozer with their personal connections?
Well, I'm
Yo,
hoping that Cameron is.
We so often talk about things not going the Jazz way in that sense, but with the Boozer connection, the BYU connection, can we get some behind the scenes Washington Wizards throwing up the draft? Good luck.
I can't help but think we bring back Carlos at this point in time to be a scout.
Who's he scouting all year, Adam?
Exactly. Yeah. Honestly,
Two
if I
players
don't,
you gonna watch the
if I don't
most?
see a few Instagram posts of Cameron Boozer, shooting up shots with Ace, I mean, what are we doing here?
well, here's my pessimistic view. Here's what I think is actually happening. I think Boozer wanted to get in with some organization so he could better understand the process, so he could better help his son, right? And my guess is all the other organizations that he had connections to said no, and we were like, absolutely, former player, like for sure, for sure.
What
And
organization?
they were probably
Chicago?
thinking too. They're probably thinking too. Oh yeah, this will be good for when we're high in the draft. But meanwhile, we all know that Carlos actually doesn't like Utah, right? Let's just say it. He doesn't actually like Utah.
That's not true.
He doesn't like Utah. Okay, that's big facts. Big
It's
facts.
not true.
He doesn't like Utah. And so, like, I don't think he actually has any sort of plans to help get his son over to the Jazz. I think this is a 1 year thing where we're kind of doing him a favor, thinking it's going to buy us some goodwill. And Carlos in the back of his head is like, "You guys are just suckers. I just wanted to get the behind the scenes look so I could better understand how to help my son through the process next year." And
And AJ is probably going one, so you're not convincing any team to trade.
and Carlos is gonna be gone after this year. He's gonna be gone. We're never gonna see him again, just like Dwayne Wade. Like I'm telling you, that's probably what's gonna happen. But AJ, on the other hand, I think we might actually be able to do something. The only problem,
I do think AJ is more in play than Boozer, but
I think
I have
so
a
too.
follow up for you, Mark, in a second.
Yeah, here's the only problem. Here's the big problem actually with the Ace Bailey pick. Ace Bailey and AJ are not a good fit together. They are pretty much the same player in the same mold.
Mark,
And I don't know how you play those guys together unless you're trying to pull a Vince Carter T
Mark,
Mac thing,
I
but
know who
they
you
also
are.
didn't want to
You
play
get
together.
the
So
talent, you worry about it later.
no, I don't disagree. I'm 100% all in. I would give up every single asset we have next year to go get AJ, right? But AJ and Ace are not really a good fit. Like they're just not.
I
Okay, so
played
my
that
follow
clip
up
when you were title.
on the Boozer thing is say you're right. What exact behind the scenes understanding does Carlos need to get by being a scout for a team? And what help does his son actually need for this process? I get it if Cameron is, I don't know, coming in, the 30th ranked prospect
Like
and
his
actually
twin.
landed with Ohio State instead of Carlos alma mater and stuff like that. Okay, fair, but I don't know, like what all does Carlos actually need, and similarly, what all help does Cameron actually need?
In terms of like for him getting ready for all this and going through the process, is that what you're asking or
Yeah, yeah. Well, you just said like, hey, I think that this is Carlos getting a behind the scenes look, knowing how it all works to help his son. What help does his son need, and like what behind the scenes does Carlos kind of need? I guess
well, I think
to the
Carlos
level of being hired as a scout.
I think well think about it. Like I think Carlos wants him to go number 1 next year. So if you can be a scout and go through the whole process and hear how GMs and how scouts evaluate and how they grade guys and what matters to them and what doesn't and what kind of answers rub them the wrong way and how you just need to approach the whole process like and if you're his dad like you're going to want to do as much as you can and gain as much experience and knowledge and behind the scenes intel that you can pass along to your son to try and help maximize his value and potentially go number 1. Like that's what I would do. So not that he's certainly talented enough, but like AJ's awesome, Peterson's awesome. Like next year's draft class is loaded, and if
Yeah.
you're trying to get your son to go number 1, like you're gonna try and squirm your way into every little advantage you can, And I think it would be tremendously helpful to go through that process, especially with guys like Danny and Austin Ainge, who are like these elite, level front office people. Like they're really going to teach you a lot quickly. So that's, I mean, like, here's how I'm looking at it, like, are they really going to send Carlos Boozer out to the Pac-12 or
Adam, that
whatever?
pick's been traded to Charlotte. Remember?
Like, are they going to send
Oh, thank
Carlos
you.
out to watch some of these guys? Like, he's not going to go be a scout. Like, he's not actually going to go do that job. Like, it's like a token hire, really. Like, not to say Carlos isn't smart and able and, whatever, but he's not here for that. He's here to get the experience to help his kid. That's really why he's here.
Well, yeah, I don't think you're sending Boozer out to the Pac-12, no doubt. I do think he's, going to be at a lot of Duke games for good reason, and I think there's a decent chance that that's actually to the benefit of the Jazz, not just to do a favor to Carlos.
Especially because
Meaning, I think there's actually more mutual benefits than I think is maybe thought of.
Yeah, like Duke has to play other teams at these games, and those teams
Like,
have
I'd
players
bet-
that can get drafted.
Yeah, I'd bet that Carlos is at a Kansas BYU game, for example.
Yeah, but like, what? That's not really going to matter to us. Like, it's not like Carlos is going to write up a scouting report on some Kansas guy or whatever. Like, he's just kind of along for the ride. I don't know. That's to me, a lot of this goodwill stuff that I think we like to talk ourselves into.
Yeah.
Like, think of it this way, right? Like, Justin Zanuck. One of the big things was, well, he comes from the agency world. He's going to have all these connections and all these relationships, and that's going to be a good thing for the Jazz. Yeah,
turned
right.
out-
That's been a disaster, actually. Like, that
It
did us
turned-
zero good.
It turned out we just didn't piss anyone off.
Right, but what good did that do us? Like the Derek Favors thing.
That's the sell on the hindsight is like, oh hey, we kept all our relationships,
Yeah, but
we didn't piss
that
anybody
didn't
off.
do us any good anyways. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
like there was no goodwill. Like we got no help. The Derek Favors contract, it was kind of like, oh, we're gonna kind of do a solid to his agent, and that'll mean the agent will help us out. No, it doesn't. That just means the agent took advantage of you and got his client a lot of money and took the commission off of it. And he behind the scenes, that agent is still telling everybody, yeah, you don't want to go to Utah. Like that's all that did. We just shot ourselves in the foot for zero goodwill, and that just doesn't actually exist for Utah. Maybe it does for the Lakers or Miami, but we're not that group, right? Like we're never going to be that. So that's kind of more what I'm saying is like, I think this idea that like Carlos being here is somehow going to help us. Like maybe if the Jazz have the number one pick and Carlos is like, you know what, low key, these guys are pretty cool. It's not ideal, but like you should be okay going to Utah because Danny and those guys are great. And the coaching staff, the facilities, like you're going to be okay. Like, sure. But we're also just like with Ace, we're either going to pick him or we're not. So, like, I don't really think it actually helps us all that much either way. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's
I do
kind of
see what
more
you're
where I
saying.
come from.
I do see what you're saying, for sure. Well, there's one pick outstanding, and it's a Clippers pick. And frankly, looking at who's kind of left, I'd kind of be surprised if this wasn't Fleming. Fleming seems like a LA Clippers kind of player.
Yeah, I'm going through my list. So, Fleming, I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Whatever that tall guy's name is that killed it at the combine, Raynaud, or whatever his name is.
Maxime Reynaud. Yeah.
Yep, Raynaud, Tyrese Proctor, Hunter Salas, who I kind of like, Jameer Watkins. Those are the guys still left in this tier for me. And
Is
so
there
any of those
anybody
guys.
you guys
but-
have circled for the Jazz tomorrow at 53?
I mean, there's some guys I like. I mean, obviously, any of those guys that fall, I don't think they'll make it that far. I think Markovic, he's really interesting. Micah Peavy is really interesting. Noah Penda, another classic draft Twitter guy. A lot of people like. He'd be interesting. Rocco Zakarski, this kind of giant center guy from International. Even Grant Nelson would be kind of interesting. Grant Nelson's kind of like a discount dollar store Kyle Filipowski in some ways. Chaz Lanier, an elite shooter with good size and athleticism. I don't know. There's some interesting guys. Dink Pate, who was just a huge disappointment this last year,
Top
would be
five
kind of
pick.
interesting.
I just don't say Dink. I
Yo,
don't see
he
it in
he
him,
broke
man.
my heart. I don't know what the hell happened to him. He somehow got worse going to the G League. Like
G
they
League
like,
Ignite did not help as many people as it was supposed to
oh
help.
dude, what a disaster. He got
I mean, even
de-developed.
Jalen Green and Scoot Henderson haven't like hit like they were supposed
Hey,
to.
but Bozeles last
Buzelis,
year,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
he's the
but
one guy.
and then the other guys that we had liked from a couple drafts ago. What was his name that got drafted by the Timberwolves? Still on their
Oh,
still on
Tyler
their
Smith.
roster. I wasn't thinking of Tyler Smith. I was thinking of. Oh, let me see if I can
Oh,
look it
isn't
up.
Tyler Smith in Milwaukee? Maybe I'm misremembering who took him.
Sorry, Adam, what were you saying? Say that one more time. The Timberwolves drafted somebody from G League Ignite.
Yeah, yeah. Man, why can't I think of his name right now? But I'll get it here in a second. Leonard Miller.
Oh,
Uh,
Leonard Miller.
Leonard Miller, I remember liking quite a bit, and then the
Although
guy
Leonard
drafted.
Miller was like actually kind of good in the summer league and G League, but he just never plays.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
yeah.
I remember we also liked quite a bit. What was his name? French kid. Also with G League Ignite. Same draft as City Sissoko.
City Sissoko,
Yeah, I remember we liked him.
big sad about City. He hasn't
Yeah.
turned out the way I thought he would. Yeah, he got drafted to San Antonio.
Pretty high too, right?
No, I think he ended up going in the second round. I actually had him like ranked pretty highly that year, and then I ended up with egg on my face. So what do you do?
44. I thought he went like mid 30s. I
You
meant
play
high
the
in
game
second
enough,
round.
you'll end up with some duds.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
One last question before we wrap up the night is this the most excited you've been to be a Jazz fan since the day they traded Rudy Gobert and eventually Donovan Mitchell? It's been 3 years now, and I think this is the most excited I've been any single day.
I was pretty hyped last year, to be honest, when we got, sadly I was hyped about Cody Williams, and that's just been a disaster. But you remember we were hyped about Isaiah Collier, like
We
that
were
was
hyped, yeah.
I mean,
that
that
was
was a
exciting.
lowercase hype. Like Ace Bailey's a franchise changer.
Well, but you forget Isaiah Collier for a large portion of the year was the projected number 1 pick.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
that
I mean,
wasn't-
It was super exciting to get him at 29, but it wasn't. This guy's going to lead us to a title. Like you could talk yourself into it.
No, but he again high pedigree, like coming out like he was the guy, number 1 guy in his class, expected to be the number 1 pick. So just to get a guy like that, we just don't get those guys in Utah, right? Regardless of where you get them. And so I am more excited because Ace is like just a different caliber of talent, right? So don't get me wrong, but I was actually kind of excited last year. I'm more excited now about Ace, but so yeah, I guess I would say yes. I'm the most excited I've been since we traded those guys.
Yeah, I probably would say so. I was pretty excited last year, given who fell and where we got. I was excited about the value proposition for all the guys we got. However, I would say I am leaps and bounds more optimistic about the Jazz future than I have since those trades. Even though I was excited about the value, I wouldn't say I was very optimistic after last year's draft. So I think I'm probably my most optimistic about the Jazz future.
That is fair.
Do you know what's kind of funny though? Like what I was thinking while I was listening to you say that, Adam, is I actually, in some ways, I feel like I'm more jaded now because of what has happened. And so I don't know if I can agree that I'm more optimistic, but I am excited.
There's expectations now.
Yeah, but I just am so jaded. Like the last 2 years, what happened with Cody Williams,
Yeah.
how horrible we were this last year, falling out of the top 4. It just is like I feel like I'm just so tired and jaded. So I don't know if I can be optimistic yet, but I am excited. I'm excited about Ace, and I like the Walter Clayton pick. So I don't know what you call that. I'm maybe cautiously optimistic is where I'm at.
Yeah.
So we'll say that.
Well, the Jazz are back in action next Saturday night at the Huntsman Center. VJ versus Ace Bailey.
Hey, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'm going to that game.
I won't
so.
be able to be there that night. I'll probably be there Monday and maybe Tuesday as well.
What
But
do you mean you're not gonna be there? What do you got going
I gotta
on?
go out of town and visit some family.
No,
some
tell
in-laws.
him
I
you're
get back
sick.
Sunday and then I'll probably
Tell
be
him
there
to
Monday,
visit you
Tuesday.
at Summer League.
Dude, you
Right?
can't miss the debut
The
of
VJ Ace matchup
This is the
too.
place. You gotta
Ace,
be
this
there.
is the place,
The
Bailey.
place, Bailey.
We got. By the way, we gotta do better than that. That can't be his nickname. We gotta. What do we call him? Do we call him the hardware or something to keep it kind of connected?
How do you say his first name? Did we ever figure that out?
Arius, right?
Asorius,
it's
Arius? I have no idea.
What
Air Ace.
I
We gotta come up with a
heard
name.
him. I heard him say his name, and he pronounced it Arius. So
Arius.
yeah.
So Air Ace. Like.
Did we get
you
a
know,
draft
Air
Ace flag in
Jordan.
a couple years, by the way, while we're on the topic of the Ace name? Cooper's a twin.
Yeah, his brother's not as good though. So.
I know. His brother might sneak into the back half of the second round eventually. Like
His brother did not get the same genetics.
The Nasus was a 50th pick.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I guess we could try that that whole thing, but yeah, I don't know about that.
No, I'm excited to have 3 games of Jazz basketball here in Utah.
Yo, we gotta stop with the yellow though. They're showing
It's
the-
incredible. It's
Dude, look
incredible.
at that. That is like aggressive.
is.
That's an aggressive yellow.
It's
That is like
shout, we drafted Ace Bailey.
that's like everybody's looking at that because you can't help yourself. So we gotta fix that.
Well, guys, it's been real. That was round 1, our 3rd annual live stream of the round 1. It's been real, guys. Thanks so much for joining. Names to watch for tomorrow: Rashir Fleming, Noah Penda, Cam Jones, and Maxime Reynaud. It'll be interesting. Excited to see it, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Adam.
hey, thanks for setting this up. Always enjoy
Yeah,
doing
man.
this with you
Shout
guys.
out
Pleasure.
to Ben, producer.
Yeah,
Yep,
shout
thanks,
out to
Ben.
Ben. Ben just killed
Holding
it
the
all
house
night long.
down.
He's been keeping
You'll-
us on track in the chat.
Yeah.
Indeed.
He's been killing
Yeah.
it. So thanks. to
Terrific
Ben.
addition.
Let's let Ben's now part of the squad. So.
Alrighty, guys. We will catch you next time. Go Jazz.